everyone. Happy Wednesday. Well, I decided I needed a little bit of an easy day, to be honest. I did like 3 streams yesterday. I was up till 3 in the morning. I am exhausted. I have been on my community call for I was on my community call for like 3.5 hours earlier. We're taking it easy today, guys. We have an easy task in front of us. All we're gonna do is we're gonna sit back and I'm gonna knit and we're gonna watch Nick Fuentes. Now, the reason that I chose Nick Fuentes today, and this is an episode of Nitwits. I never really planned to do Nitwits during the day. Nitwits was supposed to be like a nighttime activity. I'll explain what Nitwits is in a second. But the reason I decided I wanted to watch Nick Fuentes today is number one, when I did the stream about Kanye West storming off of Tim Pool's show the other day, what I heard from a lot of people was, who is Nick Fuentes? Who is Nick Fuentes? I have no idea who Nick Fuentes is. Who is that guy? What does he stand for? Why does everyone hate him? So it seems as though a lot of people really don't know who Nick Fuentes is, which is fine, by the way. I kind of wish I didn't know who Nick Fuentes was, if I'm really honest about it. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to do that. But also I wanted to watch Nick Fuentes because I've never actually watched Nick Fuentes in like his long form content. I have seen a metric ton of clips of Nick Fuentes. I have seen like snippets out of speeches that he's done. I've heard other people talking about him, but I have never actually sat down and watched his long form content from beginning to end to listen to him in a way in which he has every opportunity to fully flesh out what he thinks, to clarify things, to do things like that. And the reason I think that watching long form content is important is because, listen, when I started my red pill experience in 2019, it started as, for those who don't know, I don't know, most of you do, but like just in case someone's new. I was a Democrat for 20 years. I basically went on a red pill journey that started in 2019. By early 2020, I was at a Trump rally, and then I wrote an article about being a Democrat at a Trump rally, went viral on the internet. The rest is history. But the reason I bring that up is that back in 2019, when I first started waking up to how much I had been lied to by the media and by the Democrats and all that stuff, what I did was I challenged myself to sit down and listen to people that I thought I would disagree with. That was the goal. And I didn't listen to snippets. I listened to long form content, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Like I listened to them in their full form to try to get a sense of, who are these people really? What do they really think? What do they really believe? And that strategy of listening to long form content that I thought I might disagree with, it really forms the basis for a lot of content that I do today. For example, we do Socialism Saturdays, Saturday at 6 p.m., in which we watch long form socialism content so that we can fully hear their thoughts and really start to understand what they're thinking, what they're planning, what their ideas are. Because if you only listen to the snippets, you're going to get a very different idea of what they believe than if you actually listen to the long form content, which, to be honest, usually is much scarier than the snippets. We do this in happy hour on my second channel, youtube.com/actively unwoke. We do happy hours on Fridays at 5 p.m. and we watch long form woke training. We watch training for teachers. We watch programs that these people develop. And this forms the basis of my book, Actively Unwoke, The Ultimate Guide for Fighting Back Against Woke Insanity in Your Life. Link in the description below. That actually formed the basis for my book about the woke ideology. It wasn't from listening to James Lindsay, although I think he's very smart. It wasn't from watching libs of TikTok. It wasn't from doing any of those things. I formed my opinion of what the woke left are doing purely by watching and listening to their long form content and then experimenting with ways based on what I knew about them and based on what I knew they cared about to fight back against them that I thought was going to be most effective to ultimately win the culture war. So this is a strategy that I use when I think it's important that we actually understand people. I think it's important that we are able to understand and articulate the opinions of people that we disagree with in a way that they would agree with them. Because if you're just trying to demonize people or vilify people, that doesn't mean you understand what they think and what they believe. You need to actually listen to them. Just because you listen to someone does not mean you agree with them. But if we decide that we don't like what Nick Fuentes stands for, and we very well may decide that based on watching the latest episode of his show, that's fine. But you have to give him the space to be able to articulate his ideas. Otherwise, we are no different than the woke left media who takes everything out of context in order to try to vilify everyone that attacks their progressive agenda. We need to be better than that. We need to actually be listening to what people are saying. And I'll say this too. I mean, this is a personal thing for me because I've had so many people on the internet take clips of me out of context that are downright, I mean, kind of defamatory, to be honest, but don't articulate what I actually think and what I actually believe at all. And so I would really like it if people have seen clips of me looking crazy on the internet. I would much prefer that those people come and watch my long form content to try to understand what I'm teaching and what I believe and what I think, rather than going on Twitter and going, "Carlin's a psychopath." I just think it's more productive to actually listen to people. And if you end up disagreeing with them, fine. If you end up agreeing with them, fine. If you end up maybe changing your mind about a thing or two, that's all right too. That's part of the human experience. That's what we should be doing. So, we are going to sit down today and we're going to watch Nick Fuentes, the latest episode of America First. It's like 2 hours long. We're going to be sitting here for a minute, mark my words, but he is on Rumble. This is the latest. Now, this episode that we're going to be watching today, aired 2 days before he was on Tim Pool. So I'm pretty sure. Was it either the evening of the day that he had dinner with Trump? It was right around the time when he had dinner with Trump, where Trump didn't know who he was. I think Trump knew exactly who he was. I think Trump is lying about that, by the way. But we're going to sit here and watch him, and we're going to listen to what he has to say, and we're going to do it together, so we have a group bonding exercise. So, and Nitwits guys is a show that I do when basically I want to knit, because if I'm going to watch YouTube, if I'm going to watch other content creators, normally what I would be doing is sitting my butt on the couch in my living room, and I would be knitting, and we'll talk about the knitting in a second, and I would be watching this stuff. So at some point I said, you know what, if I'm going to be watching this stuff and knitting anyway, I might as well do it on the internet with friends, and we can talk about this stuff in the chat, and I can display your opinions on screen, and we can try to talk about this together. And I'll also of course bring my psychology perspective into it, where I will absolutely try to psychoanalyze Nick Fuentes for you. I'll tell you what he's afraid of. I'll tell you what communication style he has. I'll tell you why he's saying the things that he's saying. I'll tell you, we'll go beneath the surface to try to suss out Nick Fuentes's psychology in all of this. Mostly, I think Nick Fuentes is a scared little boy that was probably bullied a lot growing up. I think he is gay, or at least likes men. Maybe he likes women too, who knows? But I think Nick Fuentes has honestly repressed a lot of his real sexual desires for the sake of remaining emotional, or not emotionally, morally pure for his young audience who hasn't learned just yet that there is no such thing as emotional purity, especially not with content create emotional moral purity. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, so we're going to listen to him. I'm going to talk about the psychology of it, and I'm going to knit. Welcome to Nitwits, guys. That's what we do. Now, Nitwits has a couple different components to it. So what I'm going to do. So first, actually, let me go through a couple orders of housekeeping first. Number one, mount that like button for me. We do not smash the like button on this channel. We mount the like button on this channel. Number two, I do stream almost every single day of the week, either at 5 or 6 o'clock, depending on the day. I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel today, maybe returning sometime, turning on those notifications, all that sort of stuff. I do a wide variety of content. Contrary to what people will have you believe, I don't just talk about Tim Pool. I do a wide variety of content. There's going to be something for everyone. But tomorrow, I will be talking about Tim Pool, because mark your calendars, folks. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., but 24 hours from now, I will have one of Tim Pool's former employees Ben, who was Tim's network engineer at the Cast Castle, he worked for Tim for, I think it was like 19 months or something like that. He worked for him for a really long time. And Ben is going to come on to talk about his experience working for Tim. What kind of a boss is Tim? Does Tim blow up at people? Are Tim's employees walking on eggshells? What is the dynamic between Tim and Lydia? What is the dynamic between Allison and Lydia? Was Adam's story true? Did Adam tell the truth? What did Ben know about why Adam was fired or quit or whatever Tim wants to have you believe? So we're going to be doing that tomorrow at 5 p.m. And Ben is going to come on and he's going to be able to tell his story. And I want to be very clear about this. Ben came to me. Ben came to me after I did the stream where I talked about why Adam was fired, which was weeks before Adam did his tell-all. And Ben watched my stream and he said, "You're the only one who's gotten it who's gotten it pretty much right. And you presented it in a way where it wasn't alarmist, it wasn't extremist. You just said what you knew, and that's why I want to talk to you." So he came to me. It was his idea to do the stream tomorrow. We have been talking extensively over the past couple of weeks, and he wants to tell his story, and I have not pressured him to tell his story. I don't believe that I am exploiting it at all. He wants to tell his story, and I'm going to give him a platform to do it because I do think it's important that people hear it because he has a lot of friends that have been hurt by Tim, and he thinks people have a right to know. So we're going to be doing that at 5 p.m. tomorrow on the channel. We have a lot of time blocked off. You guys are going to get a chance to ask questions as well. So please come back and we'll do that at 5 p.m. Kevin, why are you clicking on things that you don't want to watch? Why are you clicking on things that you don't want to watch? Are you a big boy, Kevin? Are you capable of looking at a thumbnail and saying, you know what, that's just not my cup of tea, and moving on to watch something else on the internet? And MB, yes, I may have be shaming Kevin right now because you called it to my attention. I didn't actually see Kevin until you chatted this in. But guys, here's the deal. If you don't like my content, if you don't like what I'm doing, go watch something else. In fact, let's do our chat rules really quickly. Let's do our chat rules. Well, I have you here. Hang on. We'll do our chat rules. I'll shill a few more things and we'll get started. Rules of the chat. For those who are new to me, I do not have an unmoderated chat. I'm not Tim Pool. I'm not Rick Ricada. I am not Adam Krigler. If you're going to participate in my chat, you're going to be civil and you're going to be nice because I need to keep my sanity too. I can't do hours and hours and hours of this content with people shit talking all the time. I just can't do it. I like interacting with my chat. I like having conversations with my chat. I know my longtime listeners on this channel really do appreciate that I moderate the chat and I keep everyone in line. So there are 2 rules to follow if you're going to be in my chat. Number 1, don't be a dick. What do I mean by that? You will not insult me. You will not insult other people in the chat. I don't really care if you insult the people that we're watching. I don't care if you insult Nick Fuentes. That's none of my business. But you will not insult me. You will not insult other people in the chat. If you do, you're either going to get a timeout or you're going to get banned, depending on how bad the insult is. Number 2, no whining. So per Kevin, I'm going to make an example of you, Kevin. Kevin came in here and I never see Kevin in my chat. Kevin's not a regular. I usually don't see him at things. I know who my regulars are. And he instantly whined about the type of content that I'm doing. That's going to be a no-no. Don't whine. If I ask you to stop doing something in the chat, just stop doing it. Don't say, I'm not doing the thing. I'm not doing the thing. I'm not doing the thing. Wah. Don't do that. Because if I'm asking you to stop doing something, it's because you're doing the thing and I don't want to be annoyed by you. So just take it somewhere else, man. Don't be a dick. No whining. That's it. Those are the only rules of the chat. Isn't there footage of Nick saying he's a white supremacist? I thought I saw a clip, but I don't know from where. I think there probably is, Bree, but we're going to watch Nick in his full form today, so I'm not going to watch clips. I want to see him from start to finish. I want to see how his thought process works. I want to see how he puts information together. I want to see things in context, so we're not watching clips today. We're going to be watching his full form content. Yes, these rules are how we are able to hate watch hours of garbage content together. This is a really great point. We watch a lot of difficult content on this channel. We watch socialism. We watch far, far left nonsense. We watch a lot of woke stuff. We need to be able to live with each other, guys. We can't kill each other. We can't eat each other. These rules exist for a reason, and it makes everything a little bit nicer for every single person involved. So just follow the rules, and we're going to be fine. All right, a couple more things before we get started. I want to just let you know about a couple upcoming events for people in my supporter community. Number one, on Saturday. On Saturday, we are doing Unabomber Book Club. You guys know I don't like to be controversial at all, so we're reading the Unabomber Manifesto right now for my book club. There's still plenty of time to read it. It's about 30,000 words, which is about half the size of my book. So you can still plenty of time to read it. You can download it for free off the internet. You don't even need to buy it. But if you'd like to come and have a conversation about the Unabomber Manifesto, which is really, really, really interesting, then you can come and join my community. We're going to be getting together on Saturday at 3 p.m. to discuss it. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that Ted Kaczynski, for all his faults, and he has many, had some interesting ideas in his manifesto, and I think that they are worthy of discussion. James, this is actually something I've been asked a lot. Am I going to do a Mein Kampf book club? I actually have read Mein Kampf. I read it a long, long time ago. I think I have a copy of it in my basement somewhere. I don't think I'm going to do a Mein Kampf book club for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a really fucking big book. Number two, if you've ever read it, it's actually a really horrible book to read. I did not enjoy my time reading it. And number three, that might be even more controversial than I can handle. Like, like I would get in such trouble for that, and I'm not sure the trouble is worthy of what we would get out of it. See, not that guy. This is the type of thing that's going to get you banned in my chat. You already insulted me. You already insulted me. So you're getting put in a timeout right now. You do it again, you're going to get banned. See, it's really easy, guys. Just be nice. Just be nice. I only saw Nick Fuentes on You Are Here. Don't really care to look into him more. I eventually stopped watching You Are Here because of Elijah. I watched it for Sydney anyway. See, I've never watched Nick Fuentes in his full form, so I don't know what we're gonna find. And you're welcome to stay or not. All right. One more thing. We do have movie night coming up on Sunday. We are doing weekly movie nights in my supporter community. You'll have to join the supporter Discord for that. And we are watching Fahrenheit 451, the original, not the shitty HBO remake, the original, at 8 p.m. on Sunday in my supporter Discord. We get together, we watch the movie, we have discussions, there's trivia. We stop the movie a couple times throughout it to discuss the different plot points and how they're relevant to what we're looking at right now. And Fahrenheit 451 is absolutely relevant to what's going on in the world right now. So I'm really looking forward to watching that with my community on Sunday at 8 p.m. And if you would like to join for book club or for movie night or for the 2 Zoom calls that we do every single week, I spend about 10 hours, between 8 to 10 hours on private, unrecorded Zoom calls with my community every single week. We just did one earlier today. It was about 3.5 hours long. If you want to get access to all of that, you need to either join my locals or become a supporter on Patreon. And Patreon, you can donate anywhere from $5 a month all the way up to $250 a month, depending on what types of perks you want, or if you want any cool swag, stuff like that, stuff that you can only get on Patreon. That'd be pretty great. If you don't want to do Patreon, that's totally fine, man. You can join my locals, $5 a month, $50 a year, make a one-time gift, whatever's clever, whatever works for you. I like my locals community as a recommendation between the two. You're going to get more interaction with me in my locals community. It is a private community. It is really amazing, really supportive. I have the best community on all of locals. I really do mean that. Like they have gotten me through some tough times, and I hope that we're able to be supportive of them as well. So join on Patreon, join on locals, and that's what will get you access to Unabomber Book Club. That's also what will get you access to our weekly movie nights. And come watch Fahrenheit 451 with us on Sunday. It's going to be really, really great. All right. Last thing we need to talk about, since this is Knitwits, I'm going to show you guys what I'm knitting. Now, what I'm working on right now is a special shawl. I am working on the second shawl that I've ever designed ever. The first shawl that I designed is right here. That's the first ever shawl that I designed. I call this the Phoenix Fade shawl. It's giant. It's got brioche. It's got fuzzy yarn. It's got a fade. It looks really, really cool. I love this shawl. And I never actually wrote a pattern for this shawl. This is just something that I designed after I took like a shawl design class or something like that. But I love this shawl. I think it's really great. This is my first ever one. I did it a couple years ago. And now I have been asked to design another shawl. And the shawl that I've been asked to design is a Mises Caucus shawl. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the Mises Caucus in the Libertarian Party. And I have been asked to design a Mises Caucus shawl. Let me show you what the Mises Caucus logo looks like. And the reason I'm designing this is because there is I live close to, well, you guys know Jeremy Kauffman, who ran for Senate in New Hampshire. So his partner, his wife, she's actually a knitter, and she's putting together a libertarian knitting book that is going to be available for sale at PorkFest, which is in June, the best week of the year, the Great Libertarian Festival. And she asked me to design a Mises Caucus shawl for it based on the M logo. And so that's what I'm working on right now. And actually, I finished my prototype for it. When you're designing a shawl, you knit a little one and then you use that as a sample to knit a big one. So I finished my little tiny little prototype for it. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I need to basically make this part, the corners, white so you can really see that M start to come out. And it's not going to be in this color. This is just scrap yarn that I used, but I just finished this. And based on what I think is a pretty successful little prototype with this, now I'm going to start knitting the real thing. And we're going to be designing a shawl. And these are the colors that I'm going to use because they're much more Mises Caucus oriented with the blue and the gold. And so that's what I'm going to be working on today is the full version of my Mises Caucus shawl, which will hopefully be in a libertarian knitting book in about a couple of months at PorkFest. And I'm pretty excited about that. Hang on, let me hang up this shawl real quick. One sec. There it goes. Now the shawl is back on the wall. So that's what I'm going to be working on today as we watch Nick Fuentes, guys. That's how it goes with Knitwits. It is a time for me to work and to knit while we do this together. All right. We're going to be digging in now to this episode. Please mount that like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Again, we are going to be watching Nick Fuentes' latest episode of America First, which is his show. This was streamed on November 25th. So I guess November 25th was what? Was that before or after that was on Friday. So this was his Friday episode. And we're going to watch the whole thing. And I'm going to do commentary on it. I might try to psychoanalyze him. I will talk about what I think about his opinions. I will be looking in the chat as well. Please feel free to chat in your comments. As a reminder, all super chats will be displayed on the screen and I will do some sort of response to all of them. But if you say something exceptionally smart or witty or funny, you also could get your comment displayed on the screen, even if you don't do a super chat, because I really do like interacting with my chat. And so we are in this together, guys. Let's get this party started and let's learn who the fuck is Nick Fuentes.
I'm Ye. Welcome to America First. We got a great show for you tonight.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. It's going to be only
Is that it? Well, we'll watch something else then if that's real. We'll watch something else if that's what it is.
The American people will come first once
Of course,
again.
Deborah. I would always welcome your psychoanalysis.
With respect, the respect that we deserve.
Kanye did look drugged in the video. Oh, shit. I accidentally just did that. Okay, hang on. I accidentally just returned it to the beginning. Sometimes I hit the wrong button. Yeah, Kanye did look drugged in that video. He absolutely looked like he was on drugs. So Nick Fuentes denies trying to sabotage Trump. Given who he is, wouldn't he stay clear of Trump if you wanted to help him? That is a really good question. Wouldn't he know better than to stay clear of Trump? He should damn well know better to stay clear of Trump. But I also think that Nick Fuentes is too into being Nick Fuentes. I think that he thinks a lot of himself. I won't go so far as to say narcissist yet. We may get to narcissist at some point. But I think that Nick Fuentes like is about himself and himself first. I don't really think Nick Fuentes cares about Trump, if I'm honest. I don't think Nick Fuentes cares about anything, if I'm honest, except for himself. So I guess we'll see. All right, starting soon. Well, start then. Start then. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight.
Okay, his sound is really low for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my microphone volume down, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to turn the browser volume up. But this is we're going to have to, if I'm coming across as substantially louder or substantially softer than him, I need you guys to let me know. And I will do the best I can to level out the volume, but I need to turn the browser volume up, which inherently is going to turn my volume up, and we're just going to have to work it out. But I want everyone to be happy with the sound. It just might take a minute of finagling to get there, all right? I'm a one-woman show here.
Very excited to be back with you here tonight on Friday. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Lots to get into.
Is that better? Is that okay for everyone?
A crazy week.
How does that sound?
And I'm actually...
Oh! Why is it loading?
I'm going to be covering the news tonight because, honestly, I am the news this week, past few days. And there are some things I can't share. I'm going to talk a little bit about recent events, but not too much. And I'll talk about the future of the show because there are some changes that are going to be made and some announcements. So it's going to be a little bit of a different show, probably a little bit shorter too. Okay. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you to smash the follow button, hit the follow button here on Cozy to get a push notification.
I can turn it up more.
Live. Follow me on Gab, Telegram, True Social, Parler. Links are down below.
Is that better?
And with that, oh, wait, and one more thing. Okay, one additional thing. We're having some bandwidth issues. This is probably going to be the biggest stream we've ever
Maybe we'll go back and find it.
On Cozy. Probably my biggest show in a few years.
I would actually like to watch that. If someone can link me, hang on.
So if you're having bandwidth
if someone
issues,
can link me to this, that'd be great.
On Rumble. So my moderator's going to post the Rumble link in the live chat. So if it's not loading for you, check it out on Rumble, and hopefully it'll even out and people will be able to watch on both.
Is it your birthday, Joa? Happy birthday.
Traffic for a show like this. So experiencing some technical issues. Okay, with that out of the way, I guess we'll just dive right into it. It's been a very crazy and interesting week. It's been a long time since I did the show. I think the last show I did was last Tuesday. I think it was the midterms. No, that's not right. It wasn't the midterms. It was the week after the midterms. And my last show was last Tuesday.
Thank you, Phil.
I was supposed to be gone for a week. I was only supposed to be gone. I had planned to go to Washington, D.C. to do a few meetings. And I was supposed to be back on Wednesday to do the show. So I guess I'm really not that late, but all kinds of things intervened and sort of changed the trajectory of the show. And of course, everything that's in the news is about my dinner that I had with the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, as well as Ye, and some other people, some of my new friends. And so we'll get into that. But I just want to say at the very beginning, just so you know what I'm talking about, the show is going.
Why is it buffering? Why does Rumble suck? Rumble needs to get their shit together, man. Rumble is so bad. Why is it buffering?
not over, it's not canceled, and certainly I'm not finished, and we're not finished with our work. But for a period of time, I will not be doing the show regularly Monday through Friday, just so you know. Okay, and I'll have to see what the reaction to all of that is. I don't have the live chat in front of me right now. So we'll talk a little bit tonight about the show and how far we've come and everything. But
That's as far
I'll
as I
just
can
give
turn up
you
the volume, guys. If that's not good
brief
enough,
little
like,
explanation, catch you up
is
to
that
speed
better?
with all the media is talking about it,
Is that volume better?
and it is as surprising and overwhelming, I'm sure, to me as it has been to all of you. Things that sort of came out of right field and came together very quickly, but that's how it is. And
Does my sound is my
sometimes
sound
decades
loud?
happen in days. Things happen in a
See, it sounds
matter of
fine
few
to me
days
is the
or a week.
problem.
And so, as you know now, I've been speaking with Ye and working with him. And we went out to Mar-a-Lago in Florida this week, and we had a very interesting
I'll try
dinner,
not
which
to
I'm
yell.
sure you've all read about. There's a great article about it in Axios today, which went over the details, I think, very accurately. And it was funny because on, I think, Wednesday, there was a big report that came out, and it said, sources with knowledge of the situation confirm he was not at the dinner. And I'm sitting there reading it. That source has no knowledge of the situation, as we all now know. And so it's a little bit difficult for me because I can't talk too much about what's going on for various reasons that you'll all know about at some point in the future and maybe very soon. So I can't exactly go into a full debrief on the past week. I hope you understand. There's some considerations involved. So
we need to do a pause because I'm getting people telling me 15 different things about the audio levels. The audio levels on my side sound like he is very loud and I am softer than him. Now, I understand that might come across differently where you're listening, but I'm trying to explain what I hear so that we can try to level this out and make it nice for everyone. It sounds like he is much louder than me, and I actually can barely hear myself in my own headphones, which is kind of a problem, but we'll work around that. Now, I'm getting people saying everything from your volume levels are fine to he is very quiet to you're the same to all over the place. So I need some sort of assessment about how our volume levels are comparing. It is his audio being low. That's the problem I am trying to troubleshoot. While my adjustments are changing his volume on my end. Okay. Apparently, everyone is hearing different things. This is what I'm getting from the chat right now. So I want you guys to know the predicament that I'm in, whereas pretty much every single person in the chat is telling me something different right now. And it's different than what I'm experiencing on my end. So I have his volume up as high as it can go. I have my volume down to the point where I can barely hear myself. If it is coming through differently for you guys, there's really nothing I can do about it. So I'm doing the best I can on my end. I can't turn myself down because then I would not be able to hear myself. I can barely hear myself. This is where I need everyone to turn on their listening ears and listen to what I'm saying. His volume is as high as I can make it go. My volume is so soft that I can barely hear myself. I'm trying my very best to level this out for everyone. What I would actually like to do, let me try this. What I would actually like to do is I'm going to turn the browser volume back down. I need everyone to listen to what I'm saying right now, and I need everyone to do what I'm asking to do, okay? I'm going to turn my volume down. What I need everyone to do is to turn the volume on your computer up. Is everyone tracking? I'm going to turn my microphone volume down because what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my volume up so that I can actually hear myself and I can hear Nick at the same time. See, now I can actually hear myself. But I had to turn my volume way down, okay? This is the only way that I can think to solve this problem. And now I'm going to play this, and it's going to be the volume it's at, and we're just going to have to adjust it. And if this doesn't work, then we can try again. But I need everyone to understand that I'm getting 8,000 different answers in my chat right now. And so I'm doing the best I can.
I can't actually give you the play-by-play of everything that's gone on, because a lot of it is sort of discreet.
How is that?
Like I said, you'll be seeing that in the coming days and weeks. The big announcement, though,
do they have
said,
captions?
That,
I don't
tonight,
see.
There's
I don't see captions on Rumble.
On the show, and I'll try to be around here. I'll
is that better for
media
everyone?
Appearances where I can and doing my show where I can, and maybe hopefully get back on Twitter.
No, it's not. These are regulars on the channel. I know who my regulars are.
Tweet from Elon Musk
okay,
this week,
now
so
we
we'll
seem to be
goes,
getting level. Okay.
That's my big announcement for you tonight. It's a little bit weird. You know, I'm a little bit discombobulated, not just because I haven't done the show in over a week. It always takes me a little while to kind of get back into it.
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Show, I'm a little bit speechless. It's the first time since I started doing this 6 years ago that I'm really breaking new ground here. And forging a new path for myself personally and professionally and in the political world. It's sort of a brand new experience for me. And like I said, a lot of you have already heard some rumors, and maybe you can infer what's going on. And if you can't, well, you'll probably find out very soon.
What is going on? Is he like running Kanye for president? I'm a little
bit speechless because this is
that what's actually going on
for me and for, frankly, for America and for the America First movement. So it's kind of tough to put all of this into words, and so much of this overwhelming news and the things that have happened behind the scenes are honestly somewhat even wilder than what you've seen so far. But I'll try and do my best. And I have to say, it's a little bit difficult for me. As I said, I've been doing the show now coming up on 6 years. I've been doing the show on February 7th of 2023. It'll be 6 years that every day, every weeknight for that amount of time, I have sat down.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Fogwolf.
The same setup, the same desk, computer, the same suits, the same outfit, and done the same show. Format, intro, structure, the whole thing. And now I'm moving on to a new chapter for the time being. And I have to say,
supposed to be his last show for a while. Probably get to watch it.
And thank you to everybody that's watched the show, and thank you to everybody that stood by me. All the streamers on Cozy, which there's now nearly 100 of them, so I can't list all of them, but everybody who's here on the platform and everybody behind the scenes, everybody in the America First internship program, everybody in our group chats, and all my friends, family, all of that. Feels weird, like I'm giving an Oscar speech, but well, it's tough. It's kind of an odd situation for me. It's a little bit awkward, but you know, we started out this year, 2022.
So someone mentioned earlier that there's an episode of Elijah's show in which he interviews Nick, and so Phil, the one you sent me was Elijah's breakdown of what happened on Tim Pool's show. That's not the one I'm looking for. If someone wants to send me the video where that you guys told me about, that where Elijah is interviewing Nick, we can watch that too. I do want to watch some of this though, because he's saying that he's going to put a pause on the show to go do whatever the fuck he's doing with Kanye West. Okay, fine. but I want to listen to what he's saying. This seems to be like a milestone show for him. So maybe like this is going to be reflective of his current perspective. It's going to be okay, but so telling me episode 21 doesn't give me what I need. What I need is the link. I'm not trying to be difficult. I can just only do so many things at once. If you guys want me to watch something, then send in the link and I will be happy to watch it. I promise you. But like telling me like episode 21, that doesn't mean that I know what that is. But I do think that this is going to be good to watch because it's going to show us where he's at right now and we can get a little flavor of it. We don't have to spend the whole time watching it. If someone sends me the link to the thing he did with Elijah, we can watch that too. But you know, I think this will be a good thing for us to watch, even if he's just pontificating. We're going to be able to learn a lot about him. Okay, breaking the flaw. I'll make you an admin. Guys, if you're not an admin, I will make breaking the flaw an admin so he can send in links. But you can always DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. It's Dr. Carlin B on Twitter. That's going to be the easiest way for you guys to get me stuff. So if you send me the link on there, I can pull it up here as well. Thank you for asking, and thank you guys for finding the link for me. I do appreciate it.
And I don't know how many of you watched the show then, and how many of you recall this, but the last 2 years were the most difficult years of my life. A real test. And I've not really had very many easy years doing this, as you know. When I started doing this show, it was difficult. And the things that are going on in the news today, particularly with Ye, but also with lots of people now, the things that are being talked about today were happening to me 6 years ago when I was a very young man. I'm still a young man, but I was a kid. I was 18 years old and I was in college, and I did what a lot of people in politics do. My passion was
Fun fact,
politics.
he and I went to the same college. I'm not happy about that.
Easy track. It's a very easy.
Not at the same time, obviously.
Career. You go to school, you get your education, you join the campaign, you make your connections, you do your podcast, you get your Fox News appearance, and you're on your way. And you're writing for the Examiner or the Caller, or you're interning on the Hill, or maybe you're doing something else. You're a Turning Point ambassador. But for me, from the very beginning, it was not like anybody else, and it was a lot more difficult. And that's because I made a decision, and it was a decision. It didn't just happen to me, and it wasn't an accident. Some people say that I'm foolish or reckless, but I actually made a conscious decision when I began this show to tell the truth. And I know that sounds a little bit self-righteous, but it is true. As you know, in 2016, there was a conversation happening in the American right, and I think this was facilitated by the rise of Donald Trump and the ubiquity of the smartphone and social media for the first time in a presidential election year when so much attention was on politics. It wasn't like that in 2012. 2016 was the first year we had the confluence of this massive interest in politics, massive engagement, as well as this mass adoption of smartphone and the social media. And that, I think, gave rise to Trump, and those
Phil's sending me a link. Thank you, guys.
Had this effect on each other, which produced this huge explosion of communication and ideas and conversations. And the point I'm trying to make is so many people began to discover ideas which they had never heard before. And this was called the alt-right, the alternative to the existing establishment right wing. And people are talking about all kinds of things, white identity and racial realism and Jewish power and Zionism and conspiracy theories about 9/11 or the JFK assassination, about World War II.
I already don't like where this is going.
All kinds of archaic political ideologies, religious sects. And so it was in that moment that I began to see the things which have now become the subject of this show for the past 6 years, and the things that have differentiated myself from other commentators about why the country is the way it is. And to put it concisely, it is because Jesus Christ is real. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. God is real. Jesus Christ died for our sins. That's the nature of reality.
No. That's not reality. That is your perception of reality. Listen, man, I don't care what your belief system is. I really don't. I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're a Jew. I don't care if you're a Muslim. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care if you are a spiritualist. I don't really care. It makes no difference to me at all. But I am not a Christian. I will never be a Christian. I will not do it. And no amount of cajoling or proselytizing is ever going to change that. So, as much as he might think that a literal interpretation of the Bible is reality, we have to acknowledge that it is a made up fantasy. It is mythology. Now, if you want to believe that, that's fine. If you want to live your life by the tenets of Christianity, that is fine. But that is not reality for everyone else. It is simply not. So already, I kind of look at Nick Fuentes. I look at anyone who says that Christianity is reality and Jesus was like all this and all that. Listen, man, I'm fine with Jesus. Jesus, like, I have nothing. I really don't have any problem with the things that Jesus taught. I do believe that Jesus was a historical figure, but like, don't tell me that your literal interpretation of one belief system is the only reality that exists. That is your interpretation. If it works for you, fine. But I already don't view him as very hinged into reality because apparently he doesn't acknowledge A, the First Amendment is actually a thing. We don't have an established state religion in this country. B, other people are allowed to believe different things. Faith is subjective. It is not an objective truth. Faith is subjective. And if you want other people to respect your point of view and your faith, then you need to respect other people's ability to believe whatever the heck they want. It does, though. Christianity, Chris, is not objective reality. The Bible is not objectively true. It is not in any way, shape, or form. It is a fantasy to say that the Bible is objectively true. That is a fantasy. Now, you might perceive it that way, but your perception is not objective reality to everyone else. And again, I say that saying, I don't really give a flying F if you're a Christian. It makes no difference to me at all. But it's not objectively true. Sorry, it's just not.
And we live in a country where people that know that, believe that, live that, are not.
We live in a country where people are allowed to have different beliefs. Oh my word. Oh my word. People are allowed to have different beliefs. Clutch your pearls. Why don't you, Nick? Clutch your pearls. What ethnicity was Jesus and the apostles? Well, I'm sure he's not gonna like that. I don't know enough. This is where the Christians really start to when I say the Bible is not the objective truth, the Christians are like, you just don't know. You're right. I'm not a Christian, and I've probably read the Bible more than most Christians have, and I'm still not a Christian. Sorry. And to be honest, like, for those of you who are Christian, you would make a hell of a lot more progress if you stopped trying to force your belief system on other people. There are several versions of the Bible. I've actually read I have at least 3 versions of the Bible sitting on my bookshelf right now. Christians would make so much more progress if they stopped trying to force their belief system onto other people. They're the only religion that really does this. I have never been proselytized to by any other belief system as much as I've been proselytized to by Christians. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
And if people don't know who I am, and if people don't know my message, and if people think I'm a hater, I'll tell you right now, it's not the sound bites you've heard. It's not the out of context clip.
Oh my God, this is driving me crazy. Come on,
this
Nick,
and
get it
don't know
together.
this and don't live this. And we've talked about who they are. They are largely Jewish. And they're
Oh, there it is. That's not
defined-
anti-Semitic
what
at
a Jewish
all.
person is someone who's defined mercy and grace as opposed to resorting to rituals and other practices to save ourselves. And I've gotten very in depth on this over the past couple of weeks. So if you don't fully understand what that means, I've done a few shows. If you look at the replays, I've gone into a lot more detail on these ideas, but that is sort of the central thing. And I began to realize this when I was in college. It all came together for me between Trump and between my sort of religious awakening. I began to realize that we have got to save our country. We've got to tell the truth, and we've got to have a Christian leader.
You're right, Deborah. You're right. Scientologists do proselytize. You're right. Scientology is a cult, though. It's not a religion. It's a cult.
People are going to start to feel better about themselves. It's the only way that we're going to save America. We all know America's failing, and we all understand the ways in which.
Come on. Buffer, mother effer. Come on. Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce this name at some point as well. All right, guys. The buffering is on his end. It's not on mine. I do apologize. Does Nick Fuentes know that Jesus is a Jew or was a Jew? I do believe that Jesus was a historical person. I just don't think the Bible is the word of God. Well, I think it is in some respects, but I don't think I think it has been resoundingly misinterpreted.
Tonight, I'll say
Here we
some
go.
of it briefly, but when I started my show, it was almost 3 months, 2 or 3 months.
Oh, come
before
on.
she turned on me and betrayed me and began sending these
Who?
out of context clips that made me look bad to Media Matters.
Who? God, is this show better on any of his other platforms, or does it buffer like this yesterday?
One of these left-wing
Or like
hate
everywhere,
news
rather.
organizations to try to ruin my life. And you know how this goes. They take something you say and listen. I'm an honest guy. I'm not a hateful guy. I'm not a
Tinge.
sick person. I just like to talk.
Oh my
I like
God.
To talk. I
Okay.
like to talk about ideas. I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in the truth.
I'm pulling up
And I'd like to
Cozy
think I'm a
right
smart
now.
guy and pretty logical. And in the course of doing a show that's funny and topical,
I'm pulling up his other website right now. I apologize, guys. This buffering is driving me goddamn insane. Maybe it'll be better on there. We're going to give it a try anyway, because I can't do this. I can't have this buffer every 2 seconds. If we can't make this work, we will find something else that does. Let's see. America First. Just give me a second here, guys, to figure this out. I do actually want to hear what he says. It's just the buffering is driving me goddamn insane. Nick. How do I find replays? Here it is. Okay, we're going to try this. And we're going to see if we can make this a better experience for all of us. Oh, God. Definitely louder. Definitely louder. The volume is definitely better, isn't it? Holy shit. Here, I just turned the volume way down. We're going to fix the volume in a second. I just want to see if... Okay. Well, the volume issue seems to be better over on Cozy.
now I've been speaking with Ye and working with
Oh,
him.
that's so much better, actually. That's so
And we
much
went
better.
out to Mar-a-Lago in Florida this week, and we had a very interesting dinner, which I'm sure you've all read about. There was a
How
great
does that
article about
sound?
it in Axios today, which went over the details, I think.
Does that
very
sound okay to
accurately.
everyone? Let me know. We'll fast forward a little bit.
everybody in our group chats and all my friends.
We'll fast forward
Took
through some of
interest
this
in
stuff. Yeah, the
politics,
sound is
massive
much better. I should have
engagement,
done this before.
as well as this mass adoption of smartphone and that what Christians represent is humility.
Okay, here we go. This is, I think, about where we left off.
Catholic, confirmed Catholic.
Thank you guys for bearing with me.
And I firmly myself from other commentators gave rise to Trump, and Trump and those technological changes together had this effect
So
on
much
each
better.
other, which produced this huge explosion.
I can't make it go any louder.
Communication and ideas and conversations.
That's as loud as it can go.
And the point I'm trying to make is so many people began to discover
I can turn
ideas
myself
which
down.
they've never heard before. And this was called the alt-right, the alternative to the existing establishment right wing.
How does that
And people are
sound
talking
right
about
now?
all kinds of things: white identity and racial realism and Jewish power and Zionism and conspiracy theories about 9/11 or the JFK assassination, about World War II, and about all kinds of archaic political ideologies, religious sects. And so it was in that moment that I began to see the things which have now become the subject of this show for the past 6 years, and the things that have differentiated myself from other commentators.
We are all dumb
about
kids at
why
some
the
point.
country
That's
is the
true.
way it is. And
But it's
put it
irresponsible to give
concisely,
him a megaphone. It's
it is
fucking
because
irresponsible.
Jesus Christ is real. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. God is real. Jesus Christ died for our sins. That's the nature of reality. And we live in a country
It's
where
not the nature of
people that
reality. We've already
know
covered
that, believe that, live that, are not in charge. To put it concisely, that is the problem. And if people don't know who I am, and if people don't know my message, and if people think I'm a hater, I'll tell you right now, it's not the sound bites you've heard. It's not the out of context clips. It's not the jokes. It's not the so.
Hang on, we got a super chat from Bree. Bree, thank you for the support. I've been proselytized to many times because I'm Catholic. Born again Christians think that my Catholicism isn't good enough for me to be saved. Born again Christians do themselves so much harm by just proselytizing. They piss people off.
So-called dog whistles or irony. It is what I just said. My overriding belief, I was baptized Catholic, confirmed Catholic, and I firmly became Catholic when I went to college and when I started this show and made personal decisions that reflected this and political decisions that reflected this. The central idea to the show is that God is real. Jesus Christ is God. And yet the country is run by people that don't believe this and don't know this and don't live
Because we
this.
have a First Amendment, Nick.
And we've talked about who they are. They are largely Jewish. And they're defined, what a Jewish person is someone who's defined in their rejection of Jesus Christ. It's what they are. And unlike other religions, they don't just not believe in him, but they hate him.
Thank you, Florida
And they hate what he
Husky. I
represents. They
appreciate
hate
it.
that what Christians represent is humility and
I agree with this, Deborah.
surrender to God's mercy and grace, as opposed to resorting to rituals and other practices to save ourselves.
You're going to tell me
And
Christians
I've
don't resort to rituals?
gotten very in depth on this over the past couple of weeks. So if you don't fully understand what that means, I've done a few shows. If you look at the replays, I've gone into a lot more detail on these ideas, but that is sort of the central thing. And I began to realize this when I was in college. It all came together for me between Trump and between my sort of religious awakening. I began to realize that we have got to save our country. We've got to tell the truth, and we've got to have a Christian leadership. It's the only way that people are going to start to feel better about themselves. It's the only way that we're going to save America.
All right, well, now I know.
And we all understand the ways
now I
in which
know.
it's
I
failing,
appreciate the super chat.
but what is
Thank
a lot
you.
more difficult is to understand exactly.
Vanessa, you're
exactly
cool.
why,
We basically
root
just got
cause,
started. You're cool.
and exactly
Don't
who's
rewind. You're cool.
responsible, because there's so much confusion and complexity and obfuscation. But it all came together for me at a very early age.
Hang on. Meta step. You are legitimately arguing that Christians don't participate in rituals? What do you call going to church? What do you think going to church is? You're really going to, with a straight face, going to argue that Christians don't participate in rituals? Going to church is a ritual. Christmas is a ritual. Easter is a ritual. These things are all rituals. Bible study is a ritual. These are all rituals. Don't tell me Christians don't participate in rituals. And I'm not judging, by the way. I don't really care what you do or don't do. It's none of my business, not my faith. But Christians absolutely participate in ritual. Come on. Divine says, Yaman was my grandmother's funeral. Monday was my grandmother's funeral. I'm really sorry to hear that, Divine. Her older brother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, didn't come because of their belief. They have been to me and my husband's house. It's funny seeing them freak out with a gay couple. That sucks. Jehovah's Witnesses, man, there's something else. That is a whole other type of cult. Maybe we'll talk about Jehovah's Witnesses another day, but I'm really sorry to hear about your grandmother. That's a rough thing to go through, and I'm sorry that your older brother didn't come. And funerals, by the way, also a ritual, a necessary ritual for closure.
All came together when I started the show. And I realized that as a consequence of how this is set up, as a consequence of these ideas, of course, people like me that began to discuss and articulate a more true message about who's in charge of this country and why it is the way it is and how we're going to save ourselves and save our country, which is through the intercession of God and through a faith in Jesus, I began to be punished. And I've told the story many times, and I know a lot of people know it, and I'll retell it a little bit tonight. I'll say some of it briefly, but when I started my show, it was almost 3 months, 2 or 3 months before Cassie Dillon, who got me my show. My first show was on Right Side Broadcasting Network in February 2017. She arranged for me to get the show after she met me on my college campus. It wasn't long before she turned on me and betrayed me and began sending these out of context clips that made me look bad to Media Matters.
Oh, that's who he's talking about, Cassie Dillon. Really?
To try to ruin my life.
Really?
And you know how this goes. They take something
By the way,
and listen.
What he's describing, and I am not on Nick Fuentes' side by any stretch of the imagination, but what Nick Fuentes is describing with conservative influencers basically fucking each other over and throwing each other under the bus, that is 100% true. They do this to each other all the time. Many of them have also done it to me, by the way. Like, they plant hit pieces on each other. They use the media to attack each other. They smear each other all over the place. Ian Miles Chung is the absolute queen. Well, no, I was going to say king, but queen. No, Ian Miles Chung is the absolute queen of this bullshit. He does this all the time. Conservative influencers are the very last people that anyone should trust. And I don't care if you agree with what they're saying or not. They stab each other in the back all the time. Conservative influencers are, I think, part of the reason why the right never gets anywhere, because they're the ones that are pushing all of the damn infighting, where they're eating their own. They attack each other like a bunch of children all the time. Yes, Lauren Southern has talked about this. They really do. They really do. Ian Miles Chung is the #1 grifter on the internet. Absolutely. Every day of the week. You want to know why the right keeps losing? It's because their influencers are ridiculous and they act like children, and it's all about fame and status and who has the most followers, and they fuck around and they play these games all the time. So while I don't agree with Nick Fuentes on pretty much anything so far, he is absolutely correct that they will use the leftist media too, by the way. The fact that he said that someone went to Media Matters to throw him under the bus, that happens all the time. They bitch and complain about how unfair the media is to them. And then when they're not on Twitter, they go, here, leftist media, why don't you do this hit piece? Why don't you do this hit piece? Why don't you do this hit piece? They use the leftist media all the time when it suits their purposes.
I'm an honest guy. I'm not a hateful guy. I'm not a sick person. I just like to talk. I like to talk. I like to talk about ideas. I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in the truth. And I'd like to think I'm a smart guy and pretty logical. And in the course of doing a show that's funny and topical and controversial, we all know we say things. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It doesn't mean you're a hateful person. It doesn't mean you want to kill people. But we all say things in private that we wouldn't want to say in public. And we all say things that aren't politically correct or that people might judge us for, that large amounts of people disagree with us. We live in a society where people are ruined and destroyed and punished if they're caught, and more particularly if they're targeted for destruction.
Yep.
Because they become inconvenient for one reason or another. And that's what happened to me. I was a person who was basically liked by everybody and admired by Ben Shapiro and Milo, who were sort of the big guys at the time. And I was on the Right Side Broadcasting Network, which was the Trump network. And my career was being watched very closely by some of my contemporaries, same-aged conservative pundits. But I was almost knocked out of orbit and shot out of the sky within months, ruthlessly, as a teenager, as a kid, because I refused to stop asking questions about state of Israel and the dynamic between Israel and the United States, because I refused to stop asking questions and talking about the true nature of power in America, much in the same way that we've seen with
And again,
in the past.
This is already getting a little anti-Semitic for me, if I'm honest about it. This is already getting a little anti-Semitic for me. I feel very uncomfortable watching this. Derek, as Dr. Carbo's biggest Republican fan, in my own opinion, this dude is a douchebag and would be immediately dismissed by myself or my crew of pals. I mean, I would hope so. I'm getting very, very deeply uncomfortable watching this. Does anyone else, like Nick Fuentes, to me, like it really, like my whole body is like, and listen guys, again, I watch like legitimate socialism every Saturday. I kind of feel like I feel worse now. Like I feel more queasy right now watching Nick Fuentes than I do when I watch socialism. And I don't think socialists are good. I think socialists are crazy. But this is making me very, very, very uneasy. And I feel like he's really angry too. I feel like he's really angry, and he may have some cause to be angry if he's like legitimately been attacked by the right since he's been a teenager. But there seems like that level of rage isn't good for people, and it doesn't usually end up manifesting productively. Philip said he was given prominence way too young, and it's bad. I think that is true for so many influencers. That's true for so many influencers, that they were given prominence way too young and they were not prepared to handle it. And man, well, no, I think that Nick thinks he's out to do good. Why would he be doing what he's doing if he didn't think he was out to do good? I don't understand that.
Few weeks with Kyrie Irving and with Ye and others. And that's how this whole thing started. And so, and I don't need to
go into the whole Branson, you can hear the venom.
Of my entire career, but the point is to say, it was never easy. And how I started this was saying that the last 2 years were the most difficult, and it's not like it was ever easy for me.
I agree with this.
Always very difficult.
I agree with this, Deborah.
And that is because, and you can pinpoint exactly when it began, and I've done it many times on the show, exactly when my life began to change and when I mean, this actually seems like a really good thing for us to watch as an introduction to Nick Fuentes, because he's kind of reflecting on his whole career at this point. And so I actually think this could be a really insightful thing to watch if we want to find out who exactly he is and what exactly he believes. Brian, thank you for the super chat. He said earlier that anyone who didn't believe in Jesus was Jewish. You know, and I feel like I'm back on Gab already. On Gab, oh God, you guys don't look for my name on Gab at all. You're going to see some of the most horrible, awful things you've ever seen in your life. On Gab, they call me a Jew as an insult.
And I think that that says a lot about how they feel about that. It's disgusting. Bree says, I think he's a plant from the left. He's acting and talking in a way a leftist thinks a pro-Trump supporter would. No, he is not. This is not how people on the left talk. He's not, and the real giveaway is he's not using the language of the left. When leftists are pretending to be on the right, which by the way doesn't happen as much as conservatives like to say it does, they're still using the same language from the left. You can't get away from the language. It is very easy to tell a real person from the left, a real Democrat, a real Republican, a libertarian. It is very easy to tell those groups apart. He is absolutely not on the left, though. Absolutely not. He is using the language of the alt-right, of the most extreme parts of the right. That is who he is. And I don't think that people on the right do themselves any favor when they say everyone who's acting hateful is a secret leftist. They're not. These are people on the right.
Realized I was not going to have the same life that almost anybody else does. And that is for the simple fact of the matter that I decided that I was going to live in fear of only God and with a dedication to telling the truth. So many people agree with me, and so many people see the things I see, and they simply lie. And they've made that decision. They're comfortable with that, and they ignore their conscience. And whether they are
you do that too,
complicit
Nick. Come on.
or they are out there actively lying, they're engaged in a large-scale deception, which has been absolutely detrimental to the well-being of our country. And when you talk about the well-being of our country, it sounds abstract and it sounds like a talking point. We talk about the well-being of our country. We're talking about the home that we inherited from our parents and that we're going to hand on to our children to make it personal. We can talk about our country and the well-being of our country, but what it really is this country is our home. We're attached to it. We love it. This is the place. These are the places where we were born in. It's the parks, it's the schools, it's the neighborhood that you were born in, that you grew up in, that you were raised in. It's a place that your parents grew up in and went to school in and were raised in, and their parents, and so on. The people and the place are inextricably bound together. And we're going to hand off this country then to an innocent, unborn generation, and they'll hand it on to an even further innocent, unborn generation. And it's a matter of conscience that the country is being absolutely destroyed and disintegrated in ways that cannot easily be repaired, things that have taken centuries to build up for people to be able to live a virtuous, decent, dignified life.
I do have the smartest
foundations of
chat.
that,
Thank you,
which
Derek.
have been laid over centuries and
I
millennia,
agree.
are being recklessly destroyed. And the people responsible, the responsible people are those that are in positions of influence through money, through media, influence, governmental power. They're overseeing it. And with this deception by omission or by
Hi, Brenda.
their own
Welcome.
intervention, this tyranny of lies that are being told about why things are the way that they are responsible for what's happening. And I don't mean to say it like I'm so self-righteous. This is just what we're all called to do. This is just what is right. And everybody likes to look at me over the last 6 years and say, oh, you can't say that. You're crazy. Why not? It's the truth. It's time to hold people.
It's not
to
the
a little bit
truth,
of a higher
Nick. It's
standard.
your
We have
perception.
lowered our standards. And we
Your
have
perception.
accepted a horrible way of life. We have lowered our standards, and we have
real.
accepted less from ourselves and from each other and from those responsible and from our leaders. We look at people and we make excuses for themselves. We look at our lives and make excuses for our own selves. And I'm not trying to say like, hey, and I didn't, but I've had a very difficult road because of that, because I decided that I was going to say what's going on. And people have called me all sorts of names and made fun of me and ridiculed me and so on. And so it's been a rough time. But anyway, I started this year in 2022 telling all of you with the new year that the last year was the most difficult year of my life. And to tell you the truth,
This is
year
a
was
great
also
question.
very difficult. Really, it was the last 2 years. Ever since January 6th,
Great question.
2021, it has just gone into overdrive. January 6th and the year 2020, it changed everything. The COVID lockdown and all of the government power that was expanded as a result of that, the manner in which the voting was changed, the censorship that came about because of that, because of the public.
The election was absolutely perfect,
and then the
YouTube.
ensuing election fraud, which is
The election was perfect. Listen, I am watching him as an educational. I have to say this for YouTube. I am watching him to educate the public on how awful Nick Fuentes is. The election in 2020 was perfect. It was the most perfect election in the history of elections. Anyone who suggests that the election in 2020 was not the most perfect election in the history of elections is wrong. Everyone in the chat believes that the election in 2020 was perfect and without flaw. We are simply listening to Nick Fuentes to find out how horrible of a person he is. YouTube, don't give me a strike on my channel, please.
It changed everything, and it changed everyone. And as you know, I was doing pretty well in 2020, and then on January 6th, I lost it all. I lost my platform. I lost my social media. The Department of Justice took all of my money. My income went to zero overnight. My closest friends betrayed me. I was put on a no-fly list. It really looked like it was over. And I have to tell you, and I said this to a friend of mine the other day, the last 2 years were a lot harder.
I feel really uncomfortable watching this.
And that I would ever tell anybody. I know you guys have watched me on the show. In spite of the fact that all of that has happened over the last 2 years, I go live every night and I make jokes and I'm relatively cheerful, sometimes not so much. But I go on the show every night and I do my thing, and I know I'm sure everybody looks at me and thinks I'm invincible, and on some level I think I've been provided that by God. But it has been very dark and it's been very difficult and sometimes impossible. Sometimes it's been a real struggle. And I have to say that I wouldn't have made it through all of that without a faith in God, without the people that have stood behind me this entire time, some of them since day one. But even those that not
as
since
we're
day one,
discovering,
people that stood by me when I had nothing to give them and I had no money and I wasn't really popular and it looked like there was no future. I was the people that really had my back, and they were the people that shared my deep faith, and also people that shared a deep conviction in what we're doing. A deep conviction, not just in telling the truth, but in saving our country and in this kind of political action. So it's nothing but gratitude tonight. I know a lot of people are have been.
This is why people like him can be really dangerous, because Nick Fuentes believes that he is on a mission from God to save the country. Let's really think. Yes. Oh, Deborah. Yes, I absolutely agree with this. He was obviously unpopular in school. He was obviously bullied in school. Again, I think that Nick Fuentes is extremely sexually repressed. I think that he's gay, or at least likes men. And he doesn't want to admit that he likes men because then he wouldn't be morally pure. So he's probably extremely sexually repressed, which is bad. Sexual repression manifests itself in all sorts of really toxic and bad ways. But really think about this for a second. Nick Fuentes believes that he is on a mission ordained by God to save the country. That's dangerous. That is dangerous. And even more than that, his followers also believe that Nick Fuentes is on a mission from God to save the country. And on top of that, Nick Fuentes has been isolated into a little dark corner of the internet where he only interacts with people who believe that Nick Fuentes is on a mission from God to save the country. It's really messed up. This is why cancel culture is a bad idea. Because cancel culture pushes people like Nick Fuentes into the bowels of Telegram and Gab, where he's only ever hearing from people who have also been pushed into the bowels of the internet on Telegram and Gab and all the other places. And they only reinforce these delusions to each other. Your perception of reality will come by the people you surround yourself with. Your perception of the world will come from like the 5 people who you talk to the most. Can you imagine like what Nick Fuentes' view of the world is, considering the people that he surrounds himself by? I don't even want to know what's going on in this guy's head, and yet we're watching it anyway because I'm a masochist and that's what I do on my channel. Shanna says, it's a shame that Fuentes wasn't able to be mentored well when he was in college. He was young enough. He could have been guided in the right direction. I agree with that. He was probably bullied in college too, man. This kid has probably been picked on relentlessly for a long... And listen, I spent the entirety basically of like 2021 and most of 2022 being really pissed off at the political right because of how they treated me. I completely identify with how angry you can get. Because I've had the hit pieces planted on me. I've had people that are still to this day engaging in a smear campaign against me. I understand how angry you can get. I have been really angry about all of this. And I've experienced a smidgen of this compared to what this kid's experienced. So I do understand why he's angry. I do understand why he's repressed. I do understand the bullying. I do understand the hit pieces and the smearing and all that. I really, really do. I understand that it can make you angry, but Nick Fuentes seemed to have leaned into it. I really tried not to. I'm not saying I didn't have my moments, but I tried not to lean into it. Nick Fuentes seemed to lean into it when they came at him. That's probably why he's at where he's at right now. Emphasize says, Germans were reduced to District 12 status in the Hunger Games. Die heroes or live long enough to see yourselves become a villain, but what do I know? Well, that may be emphasized. That may be. Good observation. Janet says, he did become more radical after they shut him out of everything. He has a large following and it will only get worse. This is one of the things that's really terrified me since January 6th is like all these people that are getting... Have you guys ever spent time on Telegram? Like in like Milo's group on Telegram, or in like Nick Fuentes' group on Telegram, or in like like Telegram is next level insanity. Telegram is an alt-right alternate reality. They are completely unhinged from reality at all. It is absolute abject lunacy. And they spend all day spinning each other up and reinforcing this alternative view of reality. And it's just like, it's really dangerous. Something really it would not surprise me at all if something really, really bad came out of Telegram. Or Gab, to be quite frank. Gab is also... And I want to be fair, too. Gab has people on it that are not insane. Once I got my block list going on Gab, there are parts of Gab that I like. There's a freedom on Gab to be able to say whatever the fuck you want. But I had to spend a lot of time getting my block list on Gab. Because there's a lot of toxic shit on that website, too, man. Oh my god. Like, if you don't have a good block list on Gab, that's not going to be a fun place for you to be. You get the block list going, it can be a really good place to be. Kind of the same with Telegram. I'm not saying everyone on Telegram is bad, but there are these little pockets on Telegram, and every once in a while I dabble my way into them just to see what's going on. They are toxic, and it is next level insanity. All right, guys, please mount that like button for me. Today we are watching Nick Fuentes' latest show in its full form to find out who Nick Fuentes is and what he believes so we can see for ourselves. And I'm doing some knitting. I'm working on designing a shawl. I've just started. Whoop. We're going to get some more progress today before this is done.
Celebrating the recent news and how it looks like things are finally turning a corner. And God bless, thanks to a really courageous man. Thanks to somebody who I've been a fan of for a long time, as you know. It appears that things are finally beginning to turn around. And People have been celebrating me and they've been celebrating Ye. But I have to say thank you to everybody that has gotten me here, because although and I said this too, I'm a pretty essential ingredient. I think I'm pretty essential. I can't do it alone. We can't all do it alone. We're all part of the body of Christ. We're all siblings in that sense. So I have to say thank you to everybody that's watched the show. Thank you to everybody that supported me. Thanks to everybody that's working behind the scenes, and all the day one friends and the people in the group chats, because it wasn't easy, as you know. And everybody has told me over the years, I'll always have your back. I got you. We're in this for the long haul. I'll never turn my back on you. And it's easier said than done. As you've seen, it's easier said than done. But now it looks like finally we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here, so to speak. The light seems to actually be right in front of us. So that's a little reflection on all these years. And I have to say about the events of the last week, I'm a little bit embarrassed in a certain sense, because, this has become a little bit of a scandal.
He desperately needs to get laid. He desperately needs to get laid. Yes, provide us with detail, Nick.
For what it's worth, I told the president, and the president, I don't think he does know who I am. Or
bullshit.
Rather, he didn't know that I was me. Let me put it that way. I don't think he knew that I was me.
Bullshit.
Let's put it that way. I don't know if I'm going to say he didn't know me, but I'm not sure about that. But certainly he didn't know that I was me when I arrived at the dinner. And, I didn't mean for my statements and my whole background to sort of be, to become a public relations problem for the president. But I told him at the dinner, I said, Mr. President, I said, you are one of the greatest Americans that has ever lived. I campaigned for you in 2016. I was there and Stop the Steal in Harrisburg, Lansing, Atlanta, DC, Phoenix. I said, and I love you, and I supported you for all these years. And I thought that was important, because he really has been a hero of mine, and he has been the guy for the last 6 years. Although, based on the announcement speech that we saw a couple of weeks ago, and based on everything that I've just said, we have to move forward. We have to move forward in service of Christ, in service of the truth, and in service of America.
He thinks he's on a mission from God.
And I'm going to weigh in a little bit, just a little bit, because it's, like I said, I have to be careful, because there's a little bit of discretion involved here. But I'll say this, a race between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis.
Ain't that the truth, Tinge?
Donald Trump, as he is running right now, about the radical left and inflation, versus DeSantis, it just isn't what the country needs right now. Let's put it this way.
Hang on. I have one of Nick Fuentes' groypers in the chat, and Brett has been chatting in, basically being the great defender of Nick Fuentes. And now he's doing what all Christians do. When I say I'm not a Christian, they go, Carlin, do you even believe in God? Or are you an evil atheist? Yes, I believe in God. I don't believe in your version of God. I believe that God loves everyone unconditionally. I don't believe I need to do anything to win God over. I don't believe I'm on a mission from God. I don't believe that it is my right to force my belief system onto everyone else. There are other gods, versions of God, that are not your Christian God. There are millions of people all over the world who believe in God that are not Christian. I don't know why Christians basically think, not all Christians, but many of them, like that guy that I just put on the screen, they basically think if you're not a born-again fundamentalist Christian, then you're an atheist. I don't know why they get this idea. I truly don't know where they get this idea that it's either fundamental Christianity or atheism and nothing else in the world. It's like they haven't experienced any of life at all.
That dialectic, DeSantis and a moderate Trump, it's a huge retreat from 2016. It's a huge retreat. And it cedes so much ground. I thought after 2016, we'd be moving forward. But it seems that in 2020 and 2024, the messaging has been moving backwards. We've been told for years that we need to be patient and that we need to make excuses for people and that we need to rationalize and that we need to favor a risk-averse, incremental, quietist approach. Because let's be honest, this country is completely messed up and there is so much wrong. There are satanic people
Smart
in charge
woman,
of this country
Derek.
that do
What?
not believe in God.
What?
And this country is becoming more secular by the day.
So what?
And that is in addition to all the other problems. The borders are open and the...
We have a First Amendment. We do not have an established state religion in this country. Why do alt-right people like Nick Fuentes not understand that the First Amendment does not mean pick your version of Christianity? It doesn't mean that. We do not have an established state religion in this country. So what if people elect people who are not your particular version of Christianity? That doesn't mean they're Satanists. My God. What a stupid idea.
money's being printed like crazy and
yes,
censorship is
exactly.
in overdrive. You can't tell the truth. The whole system's rigged. The country's totally subverted by foreign governments and transnational companies and so on. And we were told that it was the first step, or at least that's how I interpret it. Trump 16 was a first step. And
this is a really good point, Rachel.
Another step.
Rachel is talking about his body language. His body is so stiff. You want to know who I would believe is on a mission from God? Someone who is in flow. Someone who's relaxed. Someone who is speaking from the heart. Someone who's not trying to pound their version of Christianity into you. He's very stiff. He's very rigid. He's very tense. He needs to fucking relax. He needs to smoke a joint and relax. But, like, I would not say that this is someone that's on a mission from God or ordained by God or however he wants to see himself. His body language is very, very off-putting. It's part of what makes him uncomfortable. Part of what we're experiencing with our uncomfortability in terms of watching Nick Fuentes is a reflection of how he feels, by the way. It's what he's giving off. He is uncomfortable with himself for some reason. So because he is uncomfortable with himself, because he's not relaxed, because he's not in flow, he is going to make us uncomfortable by virtue of watching him. You're only ever uncomfortable with watching someone when they are uncomfortable with themselves.
And to be patient and trust the process and go with it and not rock the boat. But what's been happening is that not only is there not minimal, conservative, incremental progress, we've been moving backwards. And I've been told consistently, you can't be at the table. You can't be in the room. You're too controversial. You're too this. You're too that. The most radical people in Congress have to come to Kevin McCarthy head in hat and apologize. And it's 2022. So tell me when. Tell me when we're going to be able to say
we pick up on his
really
vibes. Exactly,
really believe,
Branson.
Not just behind closed doors, not just at private dinners, not just with our assistants, but in service of the people and towards a larger and more ambitious mission than just getting a bigger chair.
Oh, hang on. Suzanne, who are you trying to fool? Nick Fuentes was not popular in high school. I can look at the guy and how he's presenting and what he's become and know that Nick Fuentes was not popular in high school. Who are you trying to fool, man? Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Emo Dante, is it possible he doesn't like his own words? No, I don't think it's that. I think he believes what he's saying. I don't think this is a show. I think he really does buy into his own ideas. But it's the sexual repression. I'm sorry, it's the sexual repression. That's what we're seeing.
More money. It's time for the real movement, the real deal, Holyfield, 100%, the movement, a real
Exactly.
victory.
Exactly.
That's the language that Trump used at his convention speech in August 2016. It's time to deliver a real victory for the American people.
Yes, you can.
You know what?
You absolutely
500
can.
miles of 18-foot
100%.
fence, not a real victory. USMCA, not a real victory. Reducing inflation and gas prices, not a real victory. We
Precisely.
want a real victory. We
Yes.
want a real transcendence and a real transformation for our country.
I have
and
the
for our
smartest chat on the
society.
internet.
We need a courageous, fearless, visionary leader who can look into the future boldly and bravely and bring it forth, bring it to us now, with a mind towards not just changing the government and changing the party in control of the Congress, with a mind towards fundamentally transforming and sanctifying the American society. There's one person that's speaking with that language, and it isn't Donald Trump. And we know who that is. So that's my take. That's my take tonight on.
Are these idiots actually going to run Kanye West for president? Is this really a reality that we're living in? Don't get me wrong, I'm here for it. I love a good spoiler. I talked about this the other night, but like I genuinely love a good spoiler, and I think that a spoiler means it's going to be we're accelerating. It means things are going to get worse before they get better, and the worse things get, the more likely it is that New Hampshire will secede from the union, and I'm in favor of that. So I'm not actually opposed to Kanye West running as a spoiler. I think it would be fucking hilarious. The entertainment value would be off the hook. But are they actually doing this? Is this actually real life? That Milo Yiannopoulos and Kanye West and fucking Nick Fuentes are going to run Kanye West for president just to piss off the Republicans? Like, I thought the Libertarians were going to be the spoiler in 2024. I thought Dave Smith was going to end up being the spoiler in 2024. But, like, is this actually possible? What a time to be alive. Put on your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. The next few years are going to be crazy. What are the odds of New Hampshire seceding from the Union? This past year, New Hampshire had the first ever vote on secession of any state since the Civil War. We actually had a vote in our state house on secession for the first time anywhere has done this since the Civil War. Over half of Republicans in New Hampshire believe that we should secede from the Union. The first state to secede is not going to be Texas. It's not going to be Florida. It's going to be New Hampshire. Mark my words. New Hampshire is the libertarian homeland. A lot of you think New Hampshire is a blue state. It's not a blue state. It's not. We just don't care who goes to D.C. It makes absolutely no difference to us who goes to Washington, D.C. New Hampshire is where the libertarians actually have political power. We are the #1 free state in the country. Secession is very much on the table. It is part of the discussion here. In the state of New Hampshire, Democrats attack the libertarians more than they attack Republicans. That's the Free State Project, guys. Look it up. Come to PorcFest, PorcFest. You can come to PorcFest in June and check it out.
The events that have transpired, to give you a little insight, and I'll cut it short a little bit there. I don't want to be too long-winded because, like I said, there has to be a little bit of discretion. And I did preface it by saying I love Trump. I really love Trump. And I went out there and stopped the steal, literally ready to die for Donald.
The election was perfect. Nick Fuentes was wrong. He's a bad person.
And I was there for all of it. And I paid for it my own money, doing Stop the Steal. We answered the call. We were there in Lansing. We were there in Atlanta for weeks. We were there in Phoenix and D.C. 3 times, Harrisburg. And it's not just personally that I was treated like garbage because, you know, I don't have a big ego about those things. I can be a team player and I could play ball, but it's not just that, but...
You don't have a big ego, Nick? Really?
It's not
really
moving forward. It has to move forward. And that is why, it's a big part of why I'm taking a step back from the show. It's to get a little bit more involved, as we always intended to do. And so, as I said, in 2022 and 21, it was a very difficult year because of these things that have happened.
Hang on. Who is worse,
recently it appeared
Democrats
that
or
all hope-
Republicans? Who's worse, Democrats or Republicans? They're the same. They're the same. Democrats are no different than Republicans. Republicans are no different than Democrats. They are exactly and precisely the same. And until people really figure this out, I don't know what to tell you. They move in the same direction. They do the same things. They hang out with each other. Republicans don't stop anything the Democrats are doing because Republicans agree with everything the Democrats are doing. They just don't want to be saddled with the responsibility of doing it. Democrats and Republicans are exactly and precisely the same.
Hope was lost. GOP primary wasn't looking so hot before, and social media wasn't looking so good.
Correct,
a lot of
Michael.
Things weren't looking
Yes.
very good, and so this is the time. And this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll move on, and I'll probably say more things. I'll probably say something else. I'll think of something else. But we'll get on to our super chats, and then that'll be it for now. But the last thing I'll say is this. We're really at a crossroads here. I know that's trite. I know you've heard that before. I know people have said that all the time, but we really are at a crossroads here. Look around you. It's drag queens in schools. It's 18-year-olds joining OnlyFans. It's the filth on TikTok. It's this country not having a border. It's the idea that our kids and we, this generation, are never going to own anything. Think about it. 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, debt slavery, never owning a house, never owning a car, never paying off their school, never making an income to support a family, never being able to have a family. Families being split apart, marriages being torn apart, people being corrupted before they're even a teenager by things on their phone, sick addiction to technology. The future is so bleak, but that has changed the calculation. There is no future if we do nothing now. There is nothing to lose. People that are scrambling, trying to protect their ever-shrinking share of what they have are foolish. It's all going away. This country is being ripped apart and raped and looted. We're being slowly poisoned and in some cases quickly murdered and assassinated.
Wrong.
And we're killing
Suzanne, how old are you? I'm honestly asking. Are you out of high school? Are you in your early 20s? Nick is not asexual. He is absolutely not asexual. And he's not a genius either. He's smart. I'm not gonna take it away from him. He is smart. He is very, very smart. But I would not say that Nick is a genius. And Nick is definitely not asexual. Nick Fuentes wants a dick in the ass more than any other obviously repressed gay man that I have ever seen in my life. There is no chance in this universe that Nick Fuentes is asexual. That is not true. God, did he tell you that? Has Nick Fuentes said that? That he's asexual and you believed it? Oh my God.
ourselves every day, inadvertently, with the kinds of things that we eat and breathe and drink and see.
Wait, he's been saying this for real?
It's not a difficult decision anymore.
Are you shitting me? He's been telling people that he's asexual? Bro. That is about the dumbest lie that I have ever heard told before in my life. I cannot believe that people are actually like blinded enough to think that Nick Fuentes is asexual. That's the craziest thing I've heard all day. Mount the like button. If you think that Nick Fuentes is a repressed homosexual that wants a dick in the ass more than you've ever seen any other repressed gay man want in his life, mount that like button for me. Thank you. We tell the truth on this channel. I'm not going to coddle this bullshit. Come on.
More.
We do need a poll. Boris is correct. Boris is correct. Hang on. We need a poll. Poll in the chat. Is Nick Fuentes gay? Obviously. Or I was going to say obviously or definitely, but that doesn't actually give you guys a choice. Obviously or no, I'm... What should... I don't want to do top or bottom. No, Nick is pure. Nick is pure and straight. Okay, poll in the chat. Let's see what you guys have to say. It's up to you now. Do me proud. Let me know if I've taught you anything.
1 becomes 2, and 2 becomes 10, and 10 becomes 100, and 100 becomes 1,000,000. People have got to start to radically begin to obey.
God, okay, Bree, I've said it in a super chat. Thank you, Bree. We'll do top or bottom if you guys decide that Nick is gay. We will only do the top or bottom poll if we as a collective decide that Nick Fuentes is obviously and clearly gay. Bree says the Bush Republicans and Democrats are the same. The anti-establishment Republicans are not the same as the Uniparty. No, I disagree strongly, Bree. I disagree strongly. Nick Fuentes says he's anti-establishment, but many of us are repulsed by him and what he stands for. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to be repulsed by Nick Fuentes. That's fine. But it's not just the Bush Republicans who are the same as Democrats. I'm sorry. That is not the truth at all in any way. They're all the same. Republicans don't do anything. Republicans follow the lead that the Democrats give them, and it's not just the Bush Republicans. It's the MAGA Republicans, too. So I appreciate the super chat. I really do, and we're allowed to disagree, but I do not agree with you on that one. I don't. God. All right, I'm going to leave that poll up for a couple more minutes. We're going to see where you guys level out on this.
Their conscience and tell the truth and do the right thing. People have got to start to get courageous. We're at a turning point here. We have a leader. We have a movement. We have a trajectory. It appears that we're going to have a platform. And this is the time for everybody to turn and look to God and to pray and to ask for strength and to ask for wisdom to get through this time and to transform and sanctify this country. And the alternative is that there will be no country. The alternative is that we will all die a painful death. We'll all see to live our country.
Are you kidding me?
Raped in a way that is far worse than it already has been. The alternative is to see horrors.
It's either agree with Nick Fuentes or die.
And grandchildren.
That's not alarmist.
The time is now to step up and to finally hold ourselves to a higher standard that we all know that we can.
He does sound like a preacher. He's a cult leader.
Christ, who is inside.
I'm sorry, Nick Fuentes is a cult leader. He sounds like a preacher. I 100% agree with this. All right, let's see this poll. Let's see how our poll is going. It does seem as though, hang on. Yes, Julie, exactly. Nick Fuentes says that if we all don't become fundamentalist Christians like Nick Fuentes, that we are all going to die. This doesn't sound like a cult leader at all. All right. Oh, this is perfect. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. 69% of you believe that Nick Fuentes is gay. Excellent. Congratulations. Now, next question. No, we've already agreed. We now believe that Nick Fuentes is obviously gay. My poll is the ultimate authority in this. The people in my chat, the poll that they take is the ultimate authority. Nick Fuentes is gay. Top or bottom? Top, bottom. Let me know what you think. This is awful. We're being awful people right now. And I want to acknowledge that, yes, I'm being an awful person right now, but it's all true. And you know it's true. In your heart of hearts, you know everything I'm saying is correct. I'm almost always proven right eventually.
All of us. And that's what we all have to do, whether I'm doing the show or not. That's what I'm asking all of you to do. That's what I'm doing. That's what many people are going to have to start to do, and let go of the world. Let go of all of our attachments to things and to status and to money, which we're all caught up in. And the vaccine was a great test of this. A lot of people like to beat their chest, and then they said, take the vaccine or you lose your job. And people said, well, I can't lose my job. This is my real life. Well, you know what? This is real life. And you wake up and go outside and take a look around. That's real life. And if we don't really use our real lives to do the right thing, then it's all about to get really bad for real this time.
It'll toughen you up. It'll be fine. You're going to survive. I promise. It'll be fine.
So we can't worry about the outcome. We can no longer worry about petty things. We have to set our sights towards a vision of a future where we're living according to our designed purpose and according to God's law. And that's the way it is. And that's the real red pill. That's bigger than we're gonna run on low. Is it really only as big as low gas prices? Is it really only so
Suzanne.
big as bringing inflation and
gas? Suzanne, you were doing so well, honey, not having a little fit in my chat. But Suzanne sadly has just broken rule number 1 of my chat, which is don't be a dick. So goodbye, Suzanne. It's been real. Go back to Telegram. It's okay. Bye. Divine says, I can see the biker gang running a trail. Well, that's something, Divine. Thank you for that image in my head that I really, really, really didn't need. God, why would you do that to me? All right, guys. According to this poll, let me see how many people have answered so far. Okay, I need at least 10 more votes in this poll. Come on. There 99 people have answered them. Okay, I need a couple more. Come on, keep answering. We're going to be scientific about our poll, people. We can't just declare poll results like Nick Fuentes being gay off of 130 votes for we can't do that willy-nilly. We have to behave responsibly here. According to the poll, 78% of you think that Nick Fuentes is a bottom. Exactly. I have the absolute smartest chat on the entire internet. Exactly. All right, guys, please mount that like button for me if you have not already. I appreciate it.
Prices and the corporate tax rate back down? Or have we discovered in the last 6 years of this process that, to his credit, Trump started by coming down the escalator? Have we not come to realize over the course of this time, through these developments and a personal transformation happening, that it is so much bigger than just politics? It is personal, it is political, it affects us all, and it affects the universe, it affects reality. And it's a personal decision. It's not about waiting for someone to come in and change
what
the
is it
policy
with Republican?
Better.
What is it?
It's a personal decision
okay.
that we all have to make.
Serious question. What is it with the alt-right and obviously repressed gay men? I don't understand it. You have Milo. Milo is Like, there is no reality in which Milo isn't gay. I don't care what he says. I don't care if he's saying he's celibate. I don't care. There is no reality in which Milo is not gay. And I bet you Milo is still sleeping with whoever the fuck he wants to sleep with. I don't think he's not abstinent from anything. I'm sorry, no. There is no reality in which Nick Fuentes doesn't want to suck a dick. There is no reality that exists in which that is not true. What is it with the attraction to the alt-right with obviously repressed gay men? I do not understand it. What is the appeal? Can anyone else think of any other examples? I'm sure there are plentiful. I just don't know the alt-right enough to say. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't.
To become soldiers of Christ.
Excellent part to come back on.
It is a war. So, that's that. So, on that note, that's that.
They hate women.
So I
okay.
leave the show for the time being.
Interesting, Connie. Interesting.
You'll see me from time to time, but just not exactly in the same format. You'll still see me. I'm hanging around. You know, you're never going to get rid of me. You're never going to get me to stop going off as much as they'd like me to. And I have to say thank you to everybody. I love all of you. And I love what I do. And I love me. And I love God. And I love the truth. And it's about love. And I love Trump.
Yes, exactly. Richard Spencer, another great example. Obviously gay.
I do love him. I really do.
Obviously gay.
And I love Ye. And it'll be very exciting to see what he's got working in the future.
Hang on. I got a great chat coming in. My mouse just isn't working, so it's taking a second for me to get there. God darn it. Sorrow Heart says, if you're sexually frustrated, you need to get that energy out somehow. Women have been shaming men for decades so that it has been normalized to demonize men's sexuality. There is a revenge aspect to it. Yeah, but if they're gay, why do they care what women think? Listen, man, the moral of today's stream, and we're not done yet. We're still going to go for a little while longer. I want to hear what he has to say. But like, the primary lesson that I think everyone should get from today's stream is, honestly, don't repress your sexuality. There's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. Don't try to live up to some moral purity test in which you end up repressing yourself, because if you do that, it's going to end up manifesting in really wacky ways. You got to channel that sexual energy somewhere, man. Sex is the ultimate creative act. We were all created via sex. Like, it is part of the human experience. There's nothing wrong with it. Whatever you like is fine. It doesn't make you a bad person. Like what you like. It is okay. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty. Don't repress yourself. It's going to result in bad things if you do. I promise you.
Okay. So that's that. All right. Let's take a look at our super chats. Let's see what you got. One last time. Hey, one last time. One last time. Wow. Can't say that I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be really honest with you. I am not going to miss this part at all. Well, but hey, but we got to enjoy it because, you know, God knows, in however many years, I'm going to look back and say, remember when it used to be so simple? And I'd read pee pee poo poo super chat. Remember, it would be so simple that I would read Spinefish for $3. So, but at least for now, I'm not there, but I'm not there yet. Okay, I'm not there yet. Gonna be real with you, not there yet. Not there yet. Still a little early. It's a little bit soon. All right, let me just take a sip.
His body language is so stiff. What is wrong with him? Explain, Brian. Okay. Explain, please.
All right. And I would, here's the thing. I would go through and list all the names, but there's like 100 people that I would have to list, okay? So I probably should like read off all the names, but I would have to read out like if I left anybody out, people would like never forgive me. So I'm just going to say, they know who they are. I'll say thank you to my team. I'll say thank you to Hiding and Magyar and Capri. I'll say thanks to our executive team who have really shepherded it through. And I'll also say thank you to all of the interns, of which there are close to 100. So I apologize.
He has 100 interns. Are you shitting me?
And I want to say thank you to everybody that I've seen
Are
in the last
you kidding?
week. And you know who you are, people that I've seen and worked with, and everybody.
Carissa, I think that this is a really good observation.
The ones I love, the ones that the people wanted me to cancel them. People like Baked Alaska and Beardson and Ethan Ralph. I love you guys. And everybody on the site, all these new up and comers, all my peers and everything. So again, I'm here. I am again.
If a gay man doesn't have, they're still pure.
Like, okay, does this guy really know what he's doing? Okay, so thank you to everybody, and of course Milo, who has really worked this out and made this happen in a big way. And who else? Anybody else that I really like? Okay, I think that's it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's dive in. Yeah, I think that's all right. Okay. But then you know who you are. I love all of you.
I just got very loud.
Let's dive in. I love all of you. Except for the traitors, except for the people that betrayed me. Listen, I don't mean to be that guy, but except for all the people that totally betrayed me and stabbed me in the back. If you're not one of those people, hey, I love you. But that was sort of a part of it too. Okay. All right, now we get, and Stico. Yeah, Stico too. Okay, let's dive in. Let's take a look at the super chats. We'll see what you got. Whoa, that's a lot of super chats. I think there's going to be, so there's 184 of them.
Oh my God.
So, I'm probably not going to be able to read all of these, but I will, I'll read as many of them as I can, okay? I don't think I can read all of them. So you know what? I'm going to limit it to one per person. I'll probably set the limit at like.
Wow. This is the problem with the world right here. This is why we are going to hell in a handbasket. Whatever, it's accelerationist. I guess I'm here for it. Brian said, as long as a gay Christian doesn't give in to sexual nature, they haven't committed a sin. I don't think they're really Christians though either. This is the thing. They don't act like Christ would. I'm sorry. Milo is not a real Christian. Nick Fuentes is not a real Christian. They don't act like Christ would. They don't express Christ's love. There's no way. There's no way. So you're going to tell me that they're Christian just because they don't get fucked in the way they desperately and obviously want to get fucked? I don't buy it, man. Not in any way.
Like $10 or something, okay? Because otherwise there's no way we're going to finish. All right, let me do this. Bing bong.
Yeah, exactly, Jeremy. Okay. Exactly. I agree with this.
All right, let's see. What do we got?
Gail Bra sent $20. Nick, congrats, my man.
Oh God, it actually reads it?
I cheered so loud saying fucking come on when I saw you with E right in front of my parents. You really are a hope for the rest of the West, not just America. You are the future.
Thank you very much.
God.
I appreciate it. You know what? I think a lot of these are going to be like that. I don't know.
That's the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. I've never heard a super chat read in like an automated voice. Nick, you are so great. You are amazing, Nick. Why are you so amazing? How did you get to be the best human being in the world, Nick? Like that's so fucking weird. This is what I'm saying about like these like alt-right lunatics who only spend time around people who are like reinforcing to them how great they are, and so that's their entire world. Nick, you are simply amazing. How are you so awesome, Nick? Oh my God, I'm going to come. You're so incredible, Nick, even though I can't because that would make me unchristlike. But oh my word, I have never seen anyone as amazing as you. Are you kidding?
Do I read any of them or do I read all of them? I feel bad if I didn't read any of them. But I feel like a lot of these are going to be like, hey, congratulations. It's like, is that really good content? Okay, I'll just read them out and I'll pick the good ones, okay?
Selmer Kaldestad sent $200. Congratulations, King.
Jesus
Replay gang,
Christ.
but I assume that's appropriate.
Hey, big shout out. Thank you very much. Replay gang. Why you replay gang? You should be watching this live. This is big. Okay. How could you miss it? But thank you very
Archon
much.
sent $50. God bless this movement, all of my wonderful friends, and of course our leader. It's a great honor to
Our
be with America
leader?
First. We love you, Nick.
Hey, love
Is
you
he
too,
their
man.
dear
Thank you.
leader? Is he the dear leader of America First?
Reactionary Retard sent
Wow.
$50. Hey Nick, congratulations on everything you've done. This is all so awesome. Praying for you, Yee, Milo, Sneeko, and all of AF. I no longer need to be vaxxed so I can stay in college. Working harder than ever so that one day I can be of use to this movement when the time is right.
This
God
is
is so
cult-like,
good.
guys.
Love you and all of
This
AF.
is cult-like.
Hey, thank you very much, man. Love you too. And glad to hear about the vax. I know it's still an issue for people. Yo!
Kitty_fly_guy sent $3. 132. Inspiring.
Thank you. The streak. What's going to happen to your streak now? 132. I guess it ends
See,
there.
I like Nick's fans in the chat. They're like, you are seething so hard. Why are you seething so hard? Can't you see that Nick is winning and winning and winning? This is honestly what they think seething looks like. This is why you should never believe people on the internet when they're like, she's seething, she's freaking out. It's like, bro, you are in a cult. You are Razzle, I'm going to give you the best advice you've ever been given in your life. You are in a cult. Nick is not a person that you want to spend your life following. Your life will be resoundingly better if you go out into the world and you meet women or men or, whatever your thing is, and you have sex with them and you go have fun and experience life with them. And you don't follow Nick's advice because Nick is a lunatic who is running a cult. I promise you that your life will be so much better if you don't take his advice at all.
Oh, thank you, pretty fly white guy. Appreciate it.
Drugstall
Yo!
sent $100.
Harris Walker!
Clink.
Harris Walker. Hey, we all owe him a big shout out. I'm not going to say exactly how. He knows. But big shout out. Clink, clink. Thank you, Harris Walker. Clink. Can everybody say clink? For the old HW, we love you, buddy. Thank you very much. Clink, clink. And we owe you one, pal.
Alan sent $10. Congrats and thank you, Nick. It really is amazing to watch you always push things further and accomplish something greater, rather than get content and stagnate. God bless you.
You are amazing,
Thank you, man.
Nick.
I appreciate it, Alan. Yeah, it's it's tough. That's why I am the way that I am. Because some people can really just do the same thing and they kind of fall into a routine and then they're like that guy. And I'm always thinking about I'm always a little bit insecure in a certain way, and so that's why it's driving it forward all the time. So I appreciate that. It's the way it's got to be.
Plantation_grow sent $5. Burn
Let's
everything.
go.
Like gasoline.
So true. Burn everything.
That's a little
Litho
ominous.
sent $50.
That doesn't seem
Christmas
good.
bonus. Hope you got some rest.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I've been, it's been a long week. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep, but.
Well, okay, so
my voice is a little hoarse.
Paula is actually asking a really great question. Could this be a result of CRT? Yes. Nick Fuentes is part of the sudden and inevitable backlash to critical race theory, gender ideology, and all things woke, because life is about balance. If you have a lot going on this side, it's going to have to get balanced out by a lot on this side, okay? If you have the left controlling absolutely every part of society, every major institution, pushing their woke shit through every messaging platform they have, inevitably, via horseshoe theory, that is going to get balanced out by an equal and opposite reaction on the right. So yeah, this is just the balance. Nick Fuentes and his ilk are the inevitable backlash to the insanity of the far left. And they're exactly the same, by the way. Nick Fuentes is no different than the leftists that we might watch on Socialism Saturday. Nick Fuentes is just the right's version of a socialist, but they are exactly the same. They have the same beliefs. They're authoritarian. They want to force their worldview on everyone. They want to compel speech. They are exactly the same.
But yeah, I've been sleeping a little bit. Happy
Big Tech
Thanksgiving, by
sent
the way.
$24. I trust Yi without meeting him because I can see that he is a loving father who has known the pain of separation from his children. I see his resolve to fight at all costs. That's how I got here too.
Well, I don't want to be the guy that does a tell-all, because I feel like that's kind of like a privacy thing. But I will just say this: he's an incredible human being. I've always been a fan. He's always been my hero. He's always been my inspiration. And I will tell you that without saying anything that's indiscreet, I have to say that he is an incredible human being. And they have that expression, never meet your heroes, and so you always kind of think that, but he is really something. He is a force of nature and an incredible person. So I've never met anyone like him. I say that in a good way. He is truly an amazing individual. So
Kevin Johnson sent $24. Prayers answered.
Oh God, the
Plan
fucking
trusted.
plan. No,
Thank you, man. Appreciate
I
it.
can't go through another
No.
election
KM sent
cycle with trust the
$200.
plan. I
I
can't
don't
do
know
it.
what to say. I am so proud of you. You represent so many people and you never let us down. Thank you,
Oh
Nick.
my God.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the big super chat. And yeah, I'm just,
We are literally fucked.
listen, a lot of what has happened has made
Clowns
me,
to the
honestly,
left.
for the first time in my life, I've been a little bit overwhelmed.
Demons to
with,
the right.
how rapid and how big all of this is.
What
And
plan?
I really do just want to do a good job.
This is a good point, Douglas. Maybe, but I don't think
it almost
so.
makes me feel a little bit guilty. I've been so blessed. And I look at God and I'm like, not like I'm a bad guy or anything, but I feel like I'm so, in some way, don't get me wrong. I have very high opinion of myself. I do love myself and everything, and I love my style
Obviously.
and I love my way and all that.
Obviously.
But I sometimes I do feel so unworthy, and I don't want to make that come across like I'm trying to sound modest, but that is my honest
God's
to God
plan.
reaction.
Brian, you're right.
It makes me a little bit bashful.
It's
I'm not
God's
gonna lie to
plan.
you, because all I ever wanted, like, it's like sometimes I argue with somebody and I win the argument, and then I kind of feel bad because I'm like, hey, I'm like, sorry, I won so hard. You know what I mean? But I just want what's right. I just want what's right to be done. I didn't get into this from
Thank
the very
you,
beginning.
Stein. I appreciate
thinking
it.
it would get this far. Honestly, I started the show 6 years ago because I thought it'd be good practice. I thought it would make me visible and help me hone my craft a little bit. And it just kind of kept going, and it went up and it went down, and went up and went down, especially over the past couple of years. Over the last couple of years, it just kind of sucked. And I just kept doing it because it's like, I don't really care about the money or anything or about.
Hang on. Stein asks a question. He says, what is it with Americans and purity tests, Carlin? It's something that I don't understand. I don't think it's Americans. I think it's human beings. I think when people don't unconditionally love and accept who they are, they're more likely to put restrictions on themselves to do what they think they need to do in order to be considered a quote unquote good person. And when you put restrictions on yourself, you're inherently going to see flaws in other people, because you're going to see every single person who isn't matching up to the standard that you want to inflict on yourself, because it is much easier to see flaws in other people than it is to see flaws in ourselves. So we're basically holding other people up to the purity test that we believe we are failing. Does that make sense? Every time you see a flaw in another person, it's because you yourself have that flaw, and that person is mirroring that flaw back to you, because it is easier to identify that flaw in another person and manage it and say, you are a bad person because of X, Y, B, and Z, than it is to say, I do that and I don't like that I do that and that makes me uncomfortable, or maybe even I like something that I don't believe I should like Nick Fuentes obviously wants a dick in the ass. Nick Fuentes is like, I know I want a dick in the ass, but I obviously shouldn't want that because that would make me morally impure, and therefore I have to vilify everyone that doesn't pass my moral purity test because I can't admit that I myself want that. That's what's going on in Nick Fuentes' subconscious. I'm not saying that's a conscious conversation he's having in his head. That's his subconscious. So that's why. The answer is love yourself unconditionally. Accept yourself unconditionally. Don't hurt other people. Don't take their stuff. I'm not saying you should give into like impulses that require you inflicting pain onto like, I mean, like physical pain. I don't like emotional pain is a different thing. But like, don't hurt other people. Don't take their stuff. But like, other than that, accept who you are unconditionally. Love yourself like God loves you. Like I believe God loves you. Because I think God does love us all unconditionally. That can sometimes be. That's honestly the hardest thing for like a lot of people to come to. And I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting everyone needs to have the same belief system I do. Whatever you believe is fine. This is my view of the world. I think it's really hard for us to wrap our heads around the fact that God loves us unconditionally, no matter what we do, no matter how evil we are, no matter how many immoral acts we might participate in. I think that we're loved unconditionally. And that unconditional love is a really hard thing for people to wrap their heads around because we've been taught that love comes with conditions. It's a sad thing. That's another conversation for another day. Let's keep going.
The fact that I get treated like garbage by political people or whatever, I'm in it because I love it. I like to be able to be myself, first and foremost, like to be authentic with people and tell the truth. And politics is my passion, so I like to give my insight on that without having to censor myself or appeal to some mediocrity who's going to hall monitor me and say, you can't say it like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to do a good job. Just trying to deliver the victory for all of us, you know? So thank you. I appreciate it.
Hardwood Grow Hyper sent $5. Proud of you.
Hey, thank you, man. Yo.
Spexo sent $10. Congrats, bro. This is better 2016. 2022 energy is my new favorite energy. I love you and America first. Christ is with you. Thank you for everything
Mama.
you do.
Great point.
Thank you very much, Spexo. I love you, man. Great guy and a great family, too. I love your parents. Got a great family, so thank you for your support, Spexo. Love you too, buddy.
Missouri friend sent $50. God bless you, Nick.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Young Putin sent $5. Remember 3 weeks ago I sent you a message saying that ye saw and liked my DM where I talked about you. Can you pretend like that's the sole reason this happened and give me full credit? JK, it was inevitable.
I didn't know that he liked it. Maybe.
Super Lionheart sent $10. Ye and Trump are running for 2024, but it's Fuentes in the headlines.
All right. Well, look, okay. We got to get behind the leader, okay? Just like we did for Trump, we got to get behind the leader. So it's not about me, okay? It's not about me. It's not about my ego. I know y'all love me. Hey, me too. I know y'all love me. Hey, me too. Guilty as charged, but
so I want to ask a question.
Look, but it's not about me.
So if he's just going to read super chats for a while, do you guys want to watch some of the episode of You Are Here with Elijah and Sydney that Nick was on? Do you guys want to watch a little bit of that? I have the link here. I think Phil sent it to me. This was almost a year ago. But do people, let me put a poll in the chat. Okay, do we want to watch it, or just type yes into the chat? That's fine. Do you guys want to watch a little bit of Nick on We Are Here? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Hang on. As I'm getting this set up, please mount that like button for me. I would appreciate it.
Ding. Do you want to get married?
Yeah, I want to get married.
Oh God.
But more out of necessity of like producing a male heir is really the whole point.
Sound is better. I'll give him that.
No, I'm just listening. I'm just observing.
You can keep going. Continue.
She's like, we can keep going. No,
No,
it is-
because I mean, I would prefer to get a handle on what you think from your mouth.
That's very
before
Chinese
I
of
say
him, though.
anything.
You know, just only men. So he doesn't want any female children.
How's the
It's very
volume sound,
Chinese.
guys? Is the
Yeah,
volume
yeah,
okay?
no, I think they're definitely they're awake on this question. You know, I mean, as far as like
Well,
marriage
it's more
goes,
about population control there rather than, getting
well,
rid
and
of
it's
women.
it's like the old world stuff about like a dowry and like, you know, gendered stuff and all that. But, you know, at least for me, it's sort of like a pride thing. Like I want to produce a male heir to take on my name, take on my legacy and all that. And, you know, marriage is sort of pursuant to that goal. But, you know, I don't know about this whole prospect of like living with a woman for the rest of my life. Like, you know, it sounds good at first. It sounds like kind of fun or interesting. You don't have to do laundry. You know, you don't have to worry about kind of taking care of the house. But, you know, then the prospect of just like it goes on and on and on. And it's decade after decade after decade. And
No,
you
I
know,
don't think
don't know
Elijah's
how
gay. I don't think he
thrilled
is.
I am with that whole idea. You know, I'm kind of a solitary individual. I like my privacy. I like my autonomy.
I do not believe that Elijah is gay. I don't. Elijah has a very lovely wife. I don't believe he's gay. My God. But the fact that Nick is like, the only reason I want to get married is to produce a male heir. What if you only have daughters, Nick? You understand you can't engineer that, right? What if you only have daughters?
Me and just the idea of like nagging GF, nagging wife. It's a little nightmarish to
Do you
me.
have a good relationship with your mom?
I love my mom.
Ah,
Yeah, I love my
Sydney!
mom.
Yes.
Is your mom a stay-at-home mom? What does she do?
Yeah, she
That was a
well,
great
so
question.
she works now, but you know, when me and my sister were growing
Good
up,
for
she
her.
raised me. She quit her job to stay at home and raise us.
And what's your
full
sister
time.
like? Do you get on with her?
Yeah, she's my twin. She's probably the opposite of me. She's more calm, sort of introverted. Yeah, but we get along.
Do you respect women,
Of course.
but you just don't want them to have any rights?
Well, I didn't say
What the
that.
hell?
I didn't
Okay.
say they shouldn't have rights.
But if I'm understanding your
The
question
power just went
correctly,
out.
if you don't want them to
Oh,
vote or
shit.
drive or have an existence akin to what they would have in,
What
say,
the
Saudi
hell? Why
Arabia,
did my
you would
light
say
go
that
out?
in large part, then they don't really have rights.
Well, I would say probably
Oh,
the
there it
ideal is
goes.
something more like Afghanistan.
Never mind,
if
we're
I'm
back.
being totally honest, like
And so
recent,
What?
what's the difference
recent
between
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia?
Like the brutality, I guess it's like a little
What the
slightly
hell?
more brutal. Of course, Taliban rule, not American rule. I'm talking
It was
about, you know,
God.
recent,
Yes,
recent
God shut
Do you
off
want
my light.
women to have the same treatment as women have under Taliban rule in Afghanistan?
Something approximating that, yeah,
Okay.
because, you know, you think about the
Excuse me?
Taliban and, you know, what they're able to achieve. Here you have these guys with nothing but, you know, some light arms and rags and 20 years, and they were able to defeat the largest military in history. I think that has something to do with the fact that they weren't like distracted. You know, they weren't distracted with the kinds of things we are in America. They weren't
Oh
being nagged, you know, they weren't
my
being bossed around by
God.
women. And, you know, now they've got
How?
this society where there's this brutality.
How? Someone please explain to me how people think this is a good idea. So I adore Elijah. I really don't think Elijah is gay. Like and I don't agree with Elijah on a lot of stuff, but I like him as a person. How do people think this is a good idea? Like, mad respect for Sydney. Sydney's not taking his shit at all. I really like Sydney too, by the way. What? I don't. This is. He has to be a Fed. Come on. He has controlled opposition. This cannot be real. I can't.
Like I said, this old world sort of order. And you bring up like voting. I don't see really voting as a right, if I'm being totally honest. Like, it's not just women. There's a lot of people that really shouldn't be voting anymore.
Such as?
You know, maybe people that don't own property, young people that work like retail jobs. Like, as an example, really, well,
No,
hear me out. Hear me out.
People that work retail jobs.
Well,
Okay,
or like
I think we
service
can all get
jobs.
on board with that national movement. It's like with the service that you're getting, it's like, man, you couldn't even get my change right. I don't know if you're gonna be able to pick the
No,
correct
there was
president
I
of
was
the
in
United
I was in
States.
Lowe's earlier, and a young man helped me who's actually a fan of both of us, who was super lovely, and I would like him to vote. He was great. He was very clever.
Well, you know, the thing about retail or these service jobs is like, you know, you look at these young people, it's a lot of millennials, Generation Z, and they really don't know how things work.
Hang
You
on,
know
we
what I
got a
mean?
super
Like,
chat coming in from Bree. Bree, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. If Nick's wife got pregnant with a girl, he'd probably insist on an abortion or divorce his wife. He might give the baby up for adoption, but abortion seems likely. Bree, I do not disagree with you. I think that that is all very true. And then he would try to hide it. He tried to cover it up. And then eventually the wife would get pissed off with him and she'd divorce him. And then eventually there'd be a big scandal. Nick Fuentes paid for his wife to get an abortion because she had a girl. It would be a massive scandal. And at the same time, Nick Fuentes would probably be found face down in a hotel room surrounded by men and coke. That's what I bet would happen. What is wrong with him? This is why I say he's sexually repressed. You don't listen, guys. I'm going to spell it out. How we view other people reflects how we perceive ourselves, okay? So if you are saying on the internet that you want to oppress a big majority of the population, to include all women, to include everyone who's not a property owner, to include everyone who's not a Christian, if you want to oppress all those people, that means that you yourself are repressing yourself in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just saying that it makes the most sense that he is sexually repressing himself. And for that reason, he wants to oppress every other person in the world to punish them just like he's punishing himself. Psychology is not hard. As soon as you wrap your head around the fact that everything is projection and that everything we do to other people reflects something that's going on inside of us, and that every flaw we see in someone else is really a flaw that we see inside of us, that's gonna it makes the world so much more clear.
if you own a business, if you own property, even if you're a homeowner, you kind of have an idea of like how things work, you know, like where things come from and some idea of like how the economy works. And, you know, if your whole life is like, okay, you're in school,
I
you're a
can lower
student,
my audio.
you pay rent, you know
I
what I
can
mean?
lower
Like
mine. I can't raise
you don't
his.
even manage like how your
I lowered
apartment
mine.
runs. Like, how should you have a say in how the country is run? You don't even really know how anything comes together in society. So, you know, the old way in America was
Sorry
that
if I was loud.
it was, of course, propertied white men. It was a very narrow group of people that were able to vote. And that's because the founding fathers didn't really believe in mass democracy, universal suffrage. They believed in checks and balances, and kind of voting was a part of like checking the power of the ruling class or the regime with the power of the people. But you know, they weren't under any illusions about this idea that like every person should have a vote. One man, one woman, one child, one vote. You know, they didn't believe that. So, you know, that's not how the country was founded. That's not how the system was set up. And that was for a reason. So I think it was a big mistake in the past 100 years to just open it up to everybody. You know, we have to think about how we're going to have competent government and who's going to make those choices. And you know, we have to think competent people should be making those choices.
Quick, if I were to ask you, like, let's start with rights. Okay, let's start with access to something very simple. Let's go to an amendment. Let's go to 19th Amendment. Right? Let's start there.
Oh God!
Start
why?
there.
Why?
Day
No!
one.
Don't
Alright,
do
day
it!
one-
Don't
day
do
one
it,
gone.
Elijah!
It shouldn't be
Don't.
there.
I have a
Shouldn't be there.
question though. Have you ever lived in any other country besides the United
Fact
States?
check.
Nope.
True.
Okay,
Just
so
America.
when you talk about many of these things, these are just from an observational standpoint where
True.
you've done a lot of reading and observed a bunch of things,
Yes.
and then arrived at your conclusions based on that.
Yes.
But you have no practical experience living under, say, a more authoritarian rule.
No, well, I mean, I already live under something like authoritarianism in America. You know, I'm on the no-fly list. I'm being persecuted. The thing is about authoritarianism is it can't be condemned in itself, you know, because the character of the regime
Excuse
isn't really
me?
authority. The authority is colored by the
Hold on.
people that are in authority.
Not to interrupt you, sorry, but just to back up for a second. So you're
Authoritarianism
currently
can't
on
be
a no-fly
condemned.
list
Excuse me.
based on the authoritarianism that's going on in the country.
Right.
Now, that authoritarianism you could argue is from the left, and the left are very happy that they have that authoritarianism. So what you want is a right-wing authoritarianism.
Yes.
But your issue is with left-wing authoritarianism.
The problem is not authoritarianism.
So
the problem is leftism.
What about the people on the left who think of you and go,
He's
well, I don't
exactly
want to live
like
under
the
his rule
left.
of law? 'Cause obviously
Exactly,
there are people
Sydney.
who
Thank
don't
you.
Well,
think like
this
you do.
is
We're
the
not a
essence
monolith.
of politics. This is the essence of politics, is that there is an us and there is a them. There
Sure.
are right-wing people and there are left-wing people, and people have varying
All
identities with different levels
authoritarianism
of
is bad.
salience.
I don't
But
know who needs to hear
yes,
this.
the problem
All
is that we
authoritarianism
are
is
not
bad.
in control of the regime. Ultimately, the problem is not the regime itself or power, because the thing is, and this is the problem, is that conservatives are sort of naive about power. Power, is not, we're not getting.
Hang on, we got a super chat. Thank you, Sequitur. I can appreciate how he uses a valid argument to cover up his insanity. I mean, this is the problem with people like Nick Fuentes, because what they do is they put in a nugget of truth, just a nugget. In his case, it might be the left is bad. Okay, that's a nugget of truth. And then they cover that nugget of truth with a giant pile of bullshit. But it's that nugget of truth that people keep going, Nick Fuentes thinks the left is bad. Oh, I think the left is bad. So Nick Fuentes might have a point with some of this other stuff he's saying too, because he's given them that golden nugget of truth, and then he covers everything else up with bullshit. Authoritarianism is bad. It's bad on the left. It's bad on the right. It's just bad. If you are advocating for authoritarianism in any way, do not be surprised if people begin using authoritarianism against you in ways that you do not like. This is why I became a libertarian in the first place. My God.
Getting rid of it anytime soon. This idea of like, take over the government to let everybody go and free the people. It's like there will always be concentrated, centralized power. And the question is, well, who's going to wield it? Are we going to forfeit the playing field to the left? This is essentially what conservatives have done, because they're averse to rule. Like when conservatives get in control of Congress or the presidency, what do? Do they go aggressively like the left does and wield the bureaucracy?
He's
and
literally
wield the Congress?
saying it. The left is doing it,
just,
so we should too.
Well, we're going to cut your taxes and we're going to do this and that. And then the left comes in with a vengeance and they say, we're going to use environmental regulations to take your gun rights. And we're going to use the IRS to go after conservative nonprofits. And we're going to do this. And we're going to solidify our rule. And then we are going to set the tone for the country. And conservatives then, even like when Trump gets into office, it's like, what do we accomplish in the first 2 years? When we had Congress, we had the courts, we had the White House, we did a corporate tax cut, barely repealed Obamacare. It's about it. We should have built a wall. We should have went after the endowments for the universities. We should have targeted left-wing institutions. We should have opened up the libel laws and went after the media. So, conservatives just aren't playing the game. We've got to wake up to the reality of power politics, engage and play. And so back to the original point, the problem is not that there is power, that there is authority. There will always be authority. There has to be authority. The question is, who is going to wield it? And, right-wing people have to do that, which is why I said earlier, if Trump became like, the Caesar of America, hypothetically, if he had got in 2016 and said, you know what, I'm not leaving, and the courts tell me that I have to leave, well, I'll disobey them. And he went full, Andrew Jackson.
Are you shitting me?
I would support it. I wouldn't say this is authoritarianism. This is in principle wrong. I would say this is a right man for the job. This is a rightful ruler of America.
This is so unnerving.
And I would be okay with that.
You bring up Caesar, but didn't that end pretty poor?
I find this incredibly unnerving to watch. Like, really unnerving to hear someone blatantly say, if Trump just wanted to usurp everything and use blatant authoritarianism to do whatever he wants to, like, that is terrifying. It doesn't surprise me at all. I've been telling people for the better part of the last 2 years that the right is authoritarian. And they are. I'm sorry, they are. This is why libertarianism is the only path forward. I don't care if I lose every election for the rest of my effing life. The only path forward that makes sense is leave me the F alone and stop trying to force your worldview on other people. Because when you try to force your worldview on other people, you turn into Nick Fuentes. It's not acceptable if the left does it, and it is not acceptable if the right does it either.
Poorly for them?
No, the empire.
The empire ended pretty poorly, I think.
Yeah, after like, hundreds of years.
Well, we've been around for about 400. How many we got left?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's just it. The Roman Republic was around, and then it gave birth to a true empire ruled by a Caesar, and then they reached their zenith under the empire. So I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing in the world.
I just find it interesting though that you're promoting these ideas having not ever lived under them. I just find that that's such a it's odd to say let's paint the entire house blue when you've never seen a blue house.
Well, I mean, do I need to go to Russia to?
Yes, probably.
Why? I mean, why?
I mean, I'll give you an example. A very good friend of mine who I've known for about 10 years used to be very much like you, actually. And he's someone who used to really, really prop up authoritarianism. He used to, and he still believes this in part that people
Oh, they
do
get
need to be
pissed when
governed
you
to a
point it
large
out.
extent because people,
They get
left alone
pissed.
are morons. And that's not saying necessarily that I even disagree with. I think your average person is probably as dumb as a bag of rocks. However, he moved to Singapore, which you could argue is not the worst place in the world. Obviously, it's quite clean. People, follow the law. The crime rate is reasonably low. But after about 2 years of living in Singapore, where they knock on your door, and this has happened to him, where he got dubbed in by his neighbors for having water on his balcony, and they said it's causing a mosquito problem. Now we're at your house, prepared to fine you over mosquitoes. He said to me, I hate living in this country. I hate the authoritarianism here. I hate the way that things operate, because coming from Australia, he's an Aussie. He was like, I much prefer the way that we do things back home, or at least, the freedom that we have. And living in a country where that's staunched in some capacity was really, and is, and continues to be very bothersome and trying for him. And so I just find it interesting, though, that you've only ever lived in the United States. I just you can only do so much reading before practical experience actually should take, some sort of precedence. And I mean, I say the same thing about women too. I mean, I dare say, from my understanding of many of your viewpoints, you also promote like the way of interacting with women. And I go, have you been in a relationship with a woman?
No.
So how are you telling other people how
He's
to
never
behave
been in
towards
a
women when you
relationship with a
yourself have not
woman?
had any actual physical, interaction with them in a romantic
Wow.
capacity, or in fact in any capacity where you uphold them in
More
a way that treats them with
evidence.
respect. I mean, if you're out here arguing,
More evidence that he is a repressed homosexual. More evidence. I'm just saying. Sequitur says, yeah, Caligula and Nero were amazing. Somebody buy that man a history book. Oh, yeah, Caligula is someone that we should definitely want to emulate. Absolutely. He's a fucking incel. Someone sent me apparently, do you guys know the Center for like Male Supremacy Studies or something at UC Berkeley? Apparently they're having a conference. We watched a couple months ago like a presentation they gave about incels. I kind of think we need to watch that conference live and then remember, like, leftists don't have a whole lot of value, but if they're teaching me about the incel ways of Nick Fuentes, I might listen to them at some point. Yelling at me in all caps is not the way that you're going to get your way. If there is a volume problem, I need you to tell me in a calm tone of voice, because to me, I can barely hear myself. So if you're going to be a whiny little bitch about the volume, you need to explain, you need to use your big kid words and explain the problem. Because to me, my volume is almost non-existent. I even have my headphones off because I can't hear myself. Oh, bye, Wayne. Go fuck yourself. Enjoy your block, bitch. God damn it. This is why we have chat rules, guys. Because I'm not going to deal with that shit all day, every day. I can't do it. Emily says she's right. It's always the people who have never lived in an authoritarian country who want that. I agree. Yeah, so I'll get the information about that incel conference and we can watch that live. That's going to be entertaining on like several different levels.
arguing that women are basically half the value of, well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, in fact, because that's not right.
Mhm.
But, if you are looking to some other regimes around the world that do think that women are half the value of a man, I have to question what kind of a person who's had no experience with women is in a position to
Yes,
basically
Sydney.
promote these ideas.
Good question.
Well, I'm having an experience with a woman right now, and I've had lots of experiences with women in my
No.
life, not romantically per se, but I've talked to enough women. I've been in, I've known enough women to know sort of what's going on. And I think any man.
Life would change exponentially for Nick Fuentes if he just got laid. Nick Fuentes' entire worldview would change if he just got laid. Nick Fuentes would become a completely different person if he just got laid. I mean, and I would take him getting laid by a woman. I think ideally he would get bent over and fucked by a man, which is what he obviously and desperately wants. But I would accept him betting a woman. I think that would at least get out some of the tension, the repression. Like it would be an improvement over what we have right now. He needs to get laid.
And who is observant enough. And honestly, you know, like I said, we could go back to great geniuses. We could go back to people that have been in relationships. Like a perfect example is like the pickup artists. You know, have you ever noticed that pickup artists who have the most relationships with women and the most sex, what they say is that really with women, it's the same bag of tricks to seduce a woman or whatever.
What is that bag
of
tricks,
that kind
Nick?
of tells you something about the nature of women, that, you know, you go from woman to woman and it's the same kind of like little tricks, little things you could say or whatever to kind of hack them and whatever.
Can we get
and
Nick
I
Fuentes
think
a
that kind of
hooker?
says it all about their
Oh,
nature.
this is a
So,
great
What
idea.
does it
Can
say
we
about
send
our
Nick
nature?
Fuentes
well,
to
it
Vegas and
says
get him a
that,
hooker?
you know, they're not fully rational. I don't believe that, like men,
I would contribute.
they possess a sort of full rationality. I think that
Rationality towards what specifically?
well,
Or just
rationality entirely,
generally?
sort of objective.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think they're capable of that. I think that, you know, a male has a real impersonal sense of rationality and reason. I think that a female sense is far more personal. And, you know, that derives from the fact that women are made to bear children. You know, women are made with their wombs to bear children. And so I think their whole consciousness is basically, it's wrapped up, it's bound up in this idea that they've got to carry a child and then raise a child.
Let's see. Sequitur says he gets bent though, just at the bathhouse. I don't know that he does is the problem. I think that if Nick Fuentes was actually getting fucked by a man, which again is what he obviously and clearly wants, like I think if that happened, he would be so much calmer. His body would be more relaxed. He wouldn't be as tense. He would have a completely different view of the world. Like, I don't think he's going to the bathhouse either. I really don't. It's sad. The time to have gratuitous sex is when you are young, people. It is. You may not appreciate it when you're young, but that is the time when you should be fucking around. And I'm not sorry I said it. E. Smith says Nick is assuming a Marxist version of history. Well, I think there's some truth to that, E. And Bree says, well, he's in league with Milo now, so maybe there's hope for that happening. Oh, God, hope so. I hope that Milo, one night when he's feeling weak, takes Nick out. They go to the club. Milo slips something in his drink, which is absolutely something Milo would do. And they have a grand old night of it. And it would relax everything. It would blow the whole situation wide open. No pun intended, but that would be fabulous.
Child. And I think that the impersonality, rationality, objectivity suffers from this. But in any case, to get back to the original question, which is about experience, I don't think that I need to live in Russia to know that we would rather have right-wing people running America than left-wing people. You know, I
Yes,
think that's
John
kind
Morgan,
of a
write this fan
asinine
fiction,
sort of thing, which
please.
people like to
We
trot
need
out.
your
And they say,
fan
well, you
fiction
haven't,
skills, John Morgan.
you know, we could qualify it with all kinds of things, but the way that we live in America is unacceptable. I mean, there's homeless people everywhere. The crime's out of control. It's a corrupt country. It's
because
a failing
he's
country,
obviously
and
gay.
you know,
Plenty
we
of
want to have
countries,
competent
Nick, around
leadership.
the world that have right-wing leadership still have many of those issues, and in fact, they're exacerbated oftentimes by the governments that are in power. So, and I would say too, I mean, I think it's a bit of a straw man to say that what I'm arguing here, I'm not even arguing. I'm just posing questions, really, because I'm interested to hear your viewpoints. However, I'm not saying. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that we should have, you know, right-wing leadership. I'd prefer to live under a
John
right-wing
Morgan is
government,
writing a
you know, so to
fanfic.
speak.
Thank you,
Although
John.
I'm more on Eric's side of things these days, from edging closer and closer towards anarchism. But, you know, I'm not suggesting that I would rather a left-wing government over a right-wing one. I'm simply saying, having never lived under the autocratic rule that you seem to be promoting in some capacity, I'm having a hard time understanding how you can say that this would be the best way to go about doing things when you actually have no practical experience. That's all
Where
it is.
do we see? I'm wondering
That's
right
all
now,
I'm
but
saying.
where do we see Christ-based, like, theocratic? I think isn't that more of what you're for? Is like more like a
theocracy?
monarchy?
No, you're talking about theocracy.
No, but not necessarily just theocracy, but I'm just saying like in some way with authority.
Like
I'm
Iran.
assuming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You mean like
I
the
mean,
divine right of kings?
but I'm
Yes.
saying that's Muslim. Yeah, but like a Christian version of, let's just say, yeah, maybe a Christian version of Iran, but not the exact government system. I'm just saying, like, where do we actually
John
see that?
Morgan is
Because
the hero we
I
need.
could just be sounding like
He
an
is,
idiot
it's
here, but I
true.
don't know if we have any of that sanctified or left in its own original state of like a Christian autocratic type of rule. Do we have that? I don't know where we have it.
Not
Like on a
in
large
this day
scale,
and age.
like
Not in this day and age.
like Poland, kind of, but not really. Like that's
It's
what I'm
more
saying.
like Hungary. More like Hungary would be more comparable because, you know, Viktor Orban, who's not perfect, but he's very good. You know, in Hungary, he articulated, I think a few years ago, he gave a speech at a university and talked about a new Christian nationalism in Europe, as opposed to, you know, other forms of nationalism or other kinds of democracy, and articulated, and it's not quite, you know, what I'm talking about, a sort of autocratic rule inspired by religion, but it's a closer approximation of that. But you're right, we don't really have that. And is this a symptom of modernity? Is this liberalism? It's probably been, you know, 100 years since we've had any kind of meaningful Christian autocratic rule anywhere in the world. And, you know, all you have to look at is the experience of history. You know, this experiment of overthrowing the kings and overthrowing the gods, it's been a complete disaster. I mean, think about how Europe and America used to be 100 years ago. I mean, it's no contest compared to the kind of scum and degeneracy and the awful things that we see today. And all that we want is a restoration of that. And I'm a real conservative in the sense that I don't believe that we're going to get to heaven on this side of death, right? So I don't know that we're going to get to I don't know. We're not going to have a perfect society, but it's a question of what kind of a society are we going to live in? What kinds of problems do we want? Do we want to have the excesses perhaps of a Christian autocratic rule and sometimes the cruelty or things that come with that? Or do we want to live in the environment we live in now where mankind is killing itself? You know, people are not having children and it's sickness and depravity and children are being harmed and corrupted. I mean, I don't think it gets very much worse than where we are today. Outside of some exceptional circumstances in history. So to me, that's really it's about what kind of society, what's the character of the country we want to live in.
What I will say is that I agree with Nick on the sense that, yeah, when leftists get power, unlike what the conservatives do, they are full steam ahead. And they
True. I
will
agree with that.
punish their political enemies. They will rule over them. And I think it got that way. And that's just not really to my point because of this long-term sort of infiltration process where they got basically hold of every single institution. And now we just kind of see it come.
And that's why people think that the left is more dangerous than the right, but that they're really not. This is the thought that keeps me up at night because I firmly believe what I say. I think that the right and the left are the same. I do. I think that the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. And so the thing that keeps me up at night is, okay, let's say we remove every leftist from power. Fine. That would be ideal. I don't want the left to have power in this country. Who do we replace them with? Because if you replace an authoritarian with another authoritarian, it's just a different brand of authoritarianism. The Republican Party and the conservative movement, and certainly not the alt-right and Nick Fuentes, I'm sorry, conservatives, you don't provide a viable solution to this problem because you are just as authoritarian as the left. It's just a different brand of authoritarianism. I didn't leave the Democratic Party and the political left to embrace authoritarianism on the right. I left the Democratic Party and the left because they were authoritarian and I didn't like it. They were trying to compel speech. They were telling me what ideas I could think about, what ideas I could consider. I didn't leave that to go onto the right and to have the same thing happen. So say we get every leftist out of power. Who do we replace them with? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. Other than the libertarians, which is why I joined the Libertarian Party, I also agree with them more on their platform than I do the major two parties. But I don't know the answer. Bree says, I write fan fiction, West Wing, and working on a Harry Potter one. I just might include a Nick Fuentes-inspired character in the West Wing one as opposition. Bree, I think that'd be fabulous. You should definitely do that. Absolutely. Why not? She also says, conservative politicians play too nice when they have power. I agree with that, but I don't want conservatives forcing their brand of authoritarianism either, but I do genuinely agree with you. Yeah. Rachel says, how much longer will the stream be going for? I'm not sure, Rachel. Probably a little while. I do want to watch. I'm really digging this this We Are Here clip, but we're not going to watch anything else after this because I haven't eaten yet today and I'm pretty effing hungry. So it'll be going for a little while, but not too much longer, I don't think.
Into fruition more than what we've ever had because we can see it. You know what I mean? Social media, technology, all of this connectivity. Where I differ is more so because I don't see the conservatives as okay wielding it and doing nothing. I think of it more as, to me, and maybe this is just through my lens, in that they ensure the power structure of leftists and they set them up for success to then
I agree
fuck
with
us
that.
over. Let's call it what it is. And again, when I say punish their political enemies, I want to be direct and I want to be clear here. I see them as the direct enemy here.
All right, Rachel,
Considering all
thank you.
the subcultures that I'm involved in, and they're controlled by leftists, and they've been running the bitch into the ground for as long as I've been alive. It's just been accelerated over certainly the last decade. But I would much rather, and going back to my original point of like pulling the rug certainly from under them, because yeah, I can understand that in at least in our lifetimes with government, it may be present in this geographical area. Is that going to be difficult to get away from? Potentially. However, I do think the scale of that can certainly change within our lifetimes. I do think that that's certainly achievable.
But I am saying that on the side note, you were noting because yes, we have special buttons and we can chat to each other on the show. Is that Sydney doesn't know anything about you really. I mean, besides what she's heard on there, and she's like,
and I do want to say, like, I've said I do know many of your views on women, which I find abhorrent. I'm going to be honest. I don't agree with you in any capacity on that front for obvious reasons.
Yeah, figures.
But I actually went into this reasonably like not really knowing your broader views on things, and so I don't really have an opinion of you, if I'm honest. And so that's why, I mean, it's really funny. People are like, Sydney's really triggered. And I'm honestly just sitting here, just listening and just, getting a feel for things. But I was saying to Elijah, it's interesting. I think you're being very respectful. And I think that's really nice because people make you out to be this, assassin that's going to just stab everybody in the face. And I think you are being very respectful, and you're obviously very polite in person. But dude, your followers are very interesting.
They're
people.
awful.
Yes.
No offense.
And
They're
I find it
Groypers are
interesting
awful
how
people.
you appear certainly one way in person. And I would say you're nice in person, and
Thank
then
you.
in the chat I don't understand. Are you
It's so interesting to watch this after we watched his show because we got one of Nick Fuentes' followers right now who's breaking rule number 1 of my chat, which is insulting me. So you're gonna get blocked. Goodbye. But it is really interesting for me to watch this after watching the first part of his show. Because dude, don't fucking spam my chat, William. Because he was a completely different person on his show than he is here. Completely. Oh, look, we're getting all sorts of Nick Fuentes people. All sorts of them. Did some sort of call go out on some sort of Groyper like Telegram group in the bowels of the internet where you guys are all now coming and waiting to subscribe to my channel so you can insult me? Please, Groypers, come and show us who you really are. Let's do a demonstration in the chat of who you really are and how you behave. Bree says, yeah, this is what they're doing. They're fucking brigading my channel. Oh, good. This is going to be great. Thank you guys for doing this little demonstration for us. I appreciate it. Bree says, I mean that they don't actually do anything. Look at what happened with the healthcare bill after Trump got elected. Also, how do I tag people in the chat? Whenever I do it, it doesn't seem to link up. Are you on your phone? Look, guys, the Groypers are literally brigading my channel right now. The Groypers are coming. The Groypers are coming. They're coming to share their retarded, fucking gay, repressed homosexual opinions with us. It's amazing. I'm going to be blocking everyone. This is going to be great. Nick is a great man. This is going to be so hilarious. I love it when people demonstrate who they really are. America first is inevitable. Oh my God, this is going to be so. Oh, they're coming. Oh my God, there's going to be more of them. Oh no, they're coming. They're coming. Oh my God, the groypers are seething. Do you guys know that you're following someone that's an obviously repressed homosexual? I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again just for the groypers who are now joining us. Nick Fuentes wants a dick in the ass more than any other obviously repressed gay man that I have ever seen in my life. That is my professional opinion. This is amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. Oh, they're even giving me money to troll me? Holy shit. Look, they're paying me to call me ugly. This is this the Christianity that Nick Fuentes is so deeply committed to? Is this right here, groypers? Is this the power and pure love of Christ? Thanks for the money. I appreciate it. Oh, this is great. Please keep coming, groypers. I will go all fucking night. I was going to wrap this up. I was going to go get some dinner, but now I'm like, this is amazing. They're brigading the channel. Wow. Keep giving me those views, groypers. Here, I'm going to serve everyone an ad just to piss off the groypers. I'm going to make money off of all of you. Enjoy your ad. We're going to watch more of this too. I'm just having a little fun right now. Yes, let's kiss all the trolls and wish them well as we block them out the door. The Nickwits. Oh, Steven. Excellent. The Nickwits. The power of the Catboy compels you, groypers. The power of the Catboys compel you. The power of the Catboys compels you. This is so good. The power of the Catboys compels you, groypers. Oh, they were dissing Tim? Okay, well, thank you for the money for dissing Tim. That's a whole other thing. Oh, the groypers are reporting me for homophobia? Honey, I love gay men. Gay men love me too. Oh, see how Christ-like Nick Fuentes' fans are? See the beautiful, pure power of Christ's love right in front of us right now? Oh my God, the pure, beautiful power of Christ's love compels me. Hang on, guys. I'm just going on a blocking spree. All right, I think we're caught up. Let's keep going. You can keep it coming, groypers. I know there are so many of you waiting to get to your 5-minute limit to be able to chat right now. You sit tight, get your best insults ready. I've got a bunch of admins. We can do this all night.
Where that your followers
Tell
like
all your
this?
friends too. Go
Well,
tell all
you know,
your
they're
groyper friends to come.
Animated, you know, very enthusiastic. The thing is that the thing about our people, you know, me and my followers is that we are really oppressed in a big way. And so you really can't divorce this from
Thanks for the
how
money.
we are. I mean,
I
when you take a
appreciate
look
the
at my
money.
followers, the groypers, or somebody like myself, I mean, we really have been treated unfairly by society. And, you know, some
Oh,
people
they're
say,
so
hey, you know,
Christian.
your followers aren't very polite, or, you know, they're
So
very
I
rowdy
think
or
it's
something
more
like
than
that.
that, Nick, though. I think that they, like, for example, they attack Elijah personally. They attack me personally. I don't
There's a
think
phrase for it being called groiped, right? Am I
That's
right?
right.
I don't think that
Got groyped.
I mean, you can extend
Getting
this into other
groped right
people
now.
who've been horrible to you personally, and that's
Mhm.
completely fair. If
Right.
they, you know, want to go for them,
This
fine.
is great.
But if I'm just asking you questions merely to dig into your
Oh,
viewpoints, which I
so
think is a fair thing to
Christian.
do on a show like this,
So
I don't know why anybody would
Christ-like.
turn that into a personal attack.
So
Now, I don't care.
godly.
Like, do
Thanks for
whatever.
the
Like,
money,
I
bro.
think the word you're looking for is pieces of shit.
well, I mean, it's kind of, it's just like, I don't get it. Like, and if you do think you're oppressed, which is
Yeah,
is
but that's what
fine,
I'm getting at, is that's why there's sort of a defensive posture, is because, you know,
Sure.
if you look at my experience and the experience of people that I know, it's,
Ethan
you know,
Ralph.
being subject to
Ethan Ralph is still so bitter that I told him no. Ethan Ralph is still so incredibly bitter. Having all sorts of feelings. I'm so unhinged. Yes. I'm unbelievably unhinged. Unbelievably unhinged. This is fun. Look, they're insulting. See, look at this. It's like Gab has shown up in my chat right now. Can you guys can if you guys have money, can you please pay me money to insult me? Can you please pay me, Groypers? Like, I'm fine with displaying your insults just to show who you really are. And thank you for being just such a perfect demonstration of what you really believe. Nick can tote around the Bible all he wants, but you're showing us what you really believe. But can you pay me money to insult me? That'd be pretty great. I'll display your insults longer. If you pay me money. Ethan Ralph's still so pissed that I told him no. What a child. Nick makes me feel inadequate in my gayness. Okay, Groypers, I gotta tell you, so we did a little poll earlier, and exactly 69% of us feel that Nick Fuentes is obviously repressed and desperately wants a dick in the ass. Maybe he wants Ethan Ralph's dick in his ass. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Keep it coming, children. Keep it coming. Yes, please continue to pay me money. Ethan can invite all he wants, and I will still leave him desperate for what he craves. I'm never going on his stream, ever. It will never, ever happen, Ethan. You can fantasize about it. You can send your minions to come attack my chat. You can send me all the emails you like. You can tweet about me all you want, and it will never, ever happen. I will give you blue balls for the rest of your fucking life. And then I'll just block all your people. I had no idea that Ethan Ralph still had such feelings about me telling him no. It's been almost a year since that happened. I would have thought that Ethan Ralph would have really gotten over being told no at this point, but I guess not. You only subscribe to get access to my stream. Well, I'm gonna block you anyway, darling, so it's all right. Oh my god. This is what happens. This is the pure unconditional love of Christ right here. This is the authoritarian theocracy that Nick Fuentes is this is the authoritarian theocracy that Nick Fuentes is saying would be great for our country. Nick Fuentes is going to save our country with these people. Pure unconditional Christ love. Right there. All right, guys, I'm going to keep playing this, and you can still keep putting comments in the chat, and I will just keep blocking these people. But again, I really would love for you guys to pay me money to insult me. That'd be pretty great. I'll display it on the screen.
So,
but Nick, all of us
that's
are
how it
though in
goes.
this space. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
but not
Elijah
really quite on
apparently
the
is a
same level.
terrorist. Dude,
No,
the stuff that this
declined.
kid's been exposed to? I mean, like,
No.
he's on the same level as.
But I
well,
did have a federal credential, so I got out. But I did get. I'm saying, like, did you read? I'm going to tell you this. Did you read how he
Yes.
got rid of his Twitter's ADL
Yes,
expose?
I did actually. Yes, I did see that.
Can I just say this? So, like, I know you're explaining this, so I
Oh.
really am not trying to get in the way. But what is so
Pure
interesting was that if you read the
Christ
ADL thing and you
right
laugh at this
there.
too, like, I started to
Pure
think about this
Christ
of why
love.
Nick Fuentes is evil, right? So, like, because I know that this is what everybody does. And the first time I had to interview him, I got this whole email with all this shit I had to add before I introduced him. But it's like everybody's always like, oh, Nick's evil. And like the only reason why people think he's evil and like go on that is because the gatekeepers that hate him, people are afraid of pissing them off. Because when you really look into Nick's like life, people are like,
I'm
but he's
so
an
dearly
anti-Semite.
upset
So
that you
first of
think I'm
all-
cringe.
But people say this,
I'm
right? It's
so
like, well, why?
upset.
And it's like, well, he
However, will
made
I
this
go
joke
on?
about cookies and the Jews. And I go, okay, I don't know about you, but I'm not a bitch enough to actually care about that. Like, I literally the humor thing. Like, it's like people always say, "Well, I wouldn't say that. I
I want to
haven't said
ask
that."
what this is, but
Well-
I don't know. Not
No, no,
because
no,
I
but I-
don't- YouTube already hates us.
Yes, but I'm
and
saying
I-
no, but I'm saying like
show me afterwards.
It's
I
like,
wanna
okay, so
understand,
if you
'cause
wouldn't
I don't know what that is.
no, but if you wouldn't say it, then just
I'm
don't
pretty
say it. But
sure.
if you really think someone's
I'm reasonably sure that the amount that someone spams my chat is directly related to how small their penis is. Does anyone else agree with that? The amount that someone comes in and spams my chat is probably directly related to them feeling a little self-conscious about, just a little self-conscious. A little self-conscious. They're insulting me by calling me trans. Pure, beautiful Christ's love. Oh, the internet. The internet. Oh, isn't that nice? Please keep confirming exactly what everyone thinks of you guys. Really, really great. Really good image.
evil because they made a joke. And then it's like, well, yeah,
Is
but
that
you're
all
not
you guys
supposed to
have?
question that. It's like, well, I come from the intellectual movement
Man.
where literally you can question anything. And it doesn't mean that it's, that anytime someone's trying to say that you're immoral for asking questions, or clearly have bad motives, are ignorant, or a part of something, whether it's the pandemic or climate change, let people ask questions.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because when I read the ADL defamation article about him, it was like 90% of the things that they said about him that were evil
No.
were just like normal mainstream
Denied.
conservative like ideas. It was like, he questions the election and he believes in right-wing authoritarianism, and it was like he believes the right wing should be the only wing. And then there's like the only part that's like probably different than the average person is that he's made inappropriate jokes on camera versus people have probably made similar jokes off camera. And I read it and I was waiting for it to be like, called for arms, called for terrorism,
Pure,
called
beautiful
for the Ku Klux
Christ's
Klan
love.
to be
Don't they make
reinstated, called for
Christianity
lynchings.
seem
Like, I'm
so
going through this article, it's
appealing?
so in depth. And it's basically the end of it was
Beautiful,
like,
beautiful
this guy
Christ's
makes
love
bad
right there.
jokes and he says sarcastic things. And he also doesn't know if Biden was there because of votes. And I like read it. I'm like, this is the worst hit piece on this guy.
Mhm.
And then I realized but like she was saying, it occurred to me, go, why everyone thinks Nick is the worst guy in the world is because of the way his followers act towards people, and they can't disconnect. No, but I'm saying like they can't
Five.
disconnect because they
Five is
hear
king of the
things about
chat.
you that are exaggerated. But then they interact with like, you get Groit and they get these people. So they assume they connect it like Nick is just trying to like infiltrate and hurt my life. But when they meet,
It's
when people
perfect
meet you, like she
timing
did,
for
she's
this
like,
part of the
is
show,
actually
isn't
not
it?
who I thought I was about to meet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a polite, amicable. I'm a human being. I'm
Very
a human
polite.
being. I'm a free
Very
thinker.
amicable.
And
Very,
ultimately,
very
my
deeply
job
polite.
is to
Deeply
provoke. Like when I
Christian.
decided to do my show, I wanted to do something novel. A lot of people when they were my age or even my age now, and they start a podcast, they want to start a podcast and they want to do like the Ben Shapiro show too. Like I'm going to do a show and say the same things that Shapiro does or the same things that, their favorite commentator does. And my idea was, well, I want to go and say what I think, my original thoughts, my thinking. And I think that it's so boring, the expectation that we're going to be in media. We're in this disastrous
I just don't know how I'm
going to
get over the pain of disappointing you.
We're all supposed to
I
go
just
on
don't
here
know
and just
how
say,
I'm going to do it.
"Hi, well, great to be here. I love low taxes and I'm a conservative and all this kind of stuff." And like the idea of my show is like, let's be provocative. Let's play devil's advocate. When I say things about like, we should be more like the Taliban, it's partly joking, but there's also partly truth. And that's sort of meant to suss out and antagonize, interrogate the truth and arrive at maybe, if we can think about the world in a different way, in a way that, maybe we don't think about it usually, in a way that some people think is abhorrent, maybe we could arrive at something more true, certainly something more interesting. And I guess that's the biggest problem is, I don't want to say that my whole life, of course I'm self-righteous and I'm fighting for a cause, but a lot of it is just mischief. A lot of it's just fun. A lot of the things that I do and say, I do without thinking sometimes because they're funny, because they're funny, because they're interesting. It's like, what if we just run with this, like the Cookie Monster thing or whatever. I'm not the kind of guy that says, oh no, we can't say that on this show. That is reprehensible, because we're all adults. We're all in this life. And I think you have to have a sense of humor about it. And that's just one of the things that they weaponize. If you have a sense of humor, if you have any degree of authenticity or realness,
Shapiro was really mad about that.
He doesn't like
this
it,
is
yeah.
this
to your
is
Hold on,
point,
no, no,
Elijah.
no.
what you're seeing right now is exactly what we're watching with Nick Fuentes. Not with Elijah. Well, Elijah fucks around with this stuff. This is who these people are, guys. I'm really glad that like my normal audience got to see exactly who these people are, because I haven't been brigaded by these assholes in a little while. It's been probably about a year since this has happened. And so I'm really glad that this is just like an amazing demonstration for exactly what we're watching. This is who these people are. They are awful, awful, awful people. All virgins, all living in their mom's basements. This is who incels really are. Expressing the pure, beautiful love of Christ for us all to see. But of course, they're the morally pure ones, aren't they? They're the morally pure. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. We'll have to see.
No,
Just
no,
go
no.
ahead, go ahead,
Shush.
go ahead.
So hold on a second there. I'm sorry to shush you.
Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, like making jokes and
True.
being funny, or at least trying to get your, trying to antagonize people. That's one thing. And there's plenty of people who do that. Like, you're not the first person to try it. And obviously you're quite successful at it. But
Mm.
I would say, I mean, don't you think to some extent that polarizing people doesn't reach, if you really want to get your point across, and you really want to change people's minds, and you really want to push this agenda that you have here to push, because obviously you have strong feelings, and obviously you care about the trajectory of America, probably even the planet.
No,
And
he
you do
doesn't.
care
He
about
cares about
right-wing values,
himself.
and
He
you
does
do
not
care
care about the
conservative values. So
trajectory
do
of
you think
America.
that
He cares
perhaps
about
to some
himself.
extent, polarizing people who otherwise might listen
Only
to
cares
you
about
is
himself.
maybe not the best course of action? Because obviously there are people who are going to love you regardless, right? There are people who automatically automatically agree with you, who think you're fantastic, and a lot of them in our chat at the moment who really, really think you're wonderful. But then there's a bunch of people who might, warm to your ideas if you weren't saying like, yeah, let's do this, that, and the other, things that they might find inaccessible. Like, I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but in my opinion, the truth is polarizing.
satanic
When Jesus
witch.
came, he said, "I
Huh.
came to divide people. I came to bring
Fascinating.
a sword. I'm going to separate people."
Fascinating. I'm a satanic witch. You learn something new every day. I think it's kind of slowing down now, isn't it? Oh shit, hang on. Gio, Carlin, I love you despite our political differences. Take this super chat as an olive branch and put it towards a treadmill. It could save your life. Thank you for the money. Thank you for the money. See, it's only polite. It is the embodiment of Christ's love, where if you're going to insult someone, at least pay them money for the courtesy of insulting them. The pure, beautiful embodiment of Christ's love. Right here. These are the Christian nationalists that want you to allow them to rule you. These are the people who want to inflict authoritarianism on you in the name of their obviously repressed gay hero, Nick Fuentes. This is who they really are. Can't you just see the love of Christ wafting through the screen right now? Can't you just feel what they would do if these people were ever given any power at all? Man. No, I would not be open to interviewing Nick. Absolutely not. Not in any way. Absolutely not. 100% no. See, you learn something new every day, right? We got to see who Nick Fuentes really is tonight by virtue of the people who love and adore him. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Guys, do not mind these people. This is a game. This is the game that these people play. For anyone who hasn't seen this before, I've been through this before. Rounds and rounds and rounds of this. This is a game that the children play because they're all stuck in their mom's basement and no woman or man or beast will touch them. And so this is what happens when we sexually repress ourselves, people. This is why I spent the better part of this stream begging and pleading with all of you to not sexually repress yourselves. Because when you sexually repress yourselves, you become these people. And that's just not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone. Let's see. We're going to finish this up in a second. Hang on. I'm just getting through the chat. I know I saw a super chat come in. Oh my God. These people are crazy. I think I'm a little bit behind. And now they're going to start complaining. They're going to start saying, you're pro-censorship because you're blocking us. Yes, I am pro-censorship of children like this. I'm absolutely pro-censorship of people on my channel who break the rules. Let's see. I know AD sent in a super chat. Let me go find AD's super chat. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, God. These people are crazy. Oh, this person has a great screen name. Carlin is a degenerate transgender whore. Oh, that's nice. Can't you guys just feel Christ's love? My God. Mama Tembo says, look, more evidence. He's a Fed with a bot army. Thank you, bots, for providing us with all the evidence we need that you are exactly who we think you are. You want us to believe that you get laid all the time, honey? Oh, please. Oh, please. Pure, beautiful Christ's love right there. Beautiful Christ's love. Beautiful Christ's love. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Christian nationalist authoritarian love. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Dragon Water. I appreciate it. Let me see. Oh, that's nice. Isn't that nice? Isn't that so Christian? Oh my gosh. I just don't, guys, I'm just going to have to convert to Christianity at the end of this. I'm going to have to. These people have convinced me that Christianity is just the only way to go in the world. AD says, hopefully Fuentes performing recalibrates the right, but beware, the left will say, see, we told you so. Brouhaha, we will tell them, we'll tell them allows for ideas to be fleshed out and things will settle out. No censorship. I agree with you, AD. Thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. All right. All right. I think I'm pretty much at the end now. I'm just going to keep blocking people, guys. Mods, keep modding liberally. I appreciate your help. Let's keep going.
On their own houses. And, you know, I think this kind of equivocating, like, well, I understand your perspective, but, you know, listen, I think this kind of equivocation that people does is actually doing more harm than good because it obfuscates the real truth. And when I come on my show, it's raw, it's uncut, like the truth is. And I'm giving it to people. I'm delivering it to people, and they might not like it. Some people, I think it resonates very strongly, and they like that. The biggest problem is the people who are righteous in this country, I think, are too timid. You know, they don't have the boldness. They don't have the courage to alienate people. You know, particularly with conservatives, they want to be liked by everybody. You ever notice this? Liberals don't care if conservatives like them. Conservatives really care that liberals like them. And they talk in such a way that they want liberals to like them. And they want women to like them. They want black people to like them. And you hear conservatives talk about race, and they're tiptoeing around it, very delicate, walking on eggshells because we don't want to offend the black people. And same thing with women. Well, we got to be delicate about it. We don't want to offend the women. And, you know, I think a lot of this is because of the society that we live in, where you've got to sell products
quiet.
to a
Isn't
mass
that
audience
nice?
of people from different races and different genders, and we live in a mass democracy, and you've got to win all the votes. But me, as somebody that is strictly an entertainer and a truth
Mount
teller,
that like
I'm
button
really
for me,
unconcerned
guys.
with the sort of popularity of my personage or my views. I'm about going in there and saying what needs to be said. And if people are influenced by that, and they want to go and play that game and equivocate, and they want to say, well, I think what Nick is trying to say is, they can go and do that, but I'm really more, to me, my concern is just getting that message out there, and getting the truth out there. And people, I think, should be more concerned about telling the truth, being real, being raw, being who they are, than sort of overthinking it in this sort of self-conscious, like, how are we going to cleverly maneuver and strategize? Like, I'm just going on my show live every night and saying, listen.
By the way, you guys want more information about why I walked away from the walkaway movement? Because what these people are doing right now, that came from walkaway. Walkaway aligns themselves with people like this. I just didn't realize it at the time, but I realize it now. Which is why we don't work with them anymore and never will again.
Here's how it is. I'm independent. I'm a free thinker. I'm not paid by anybody. I don't have to worry about sponsors or whatever. And here's the real deal. And so that's my philosophy.
Alex Jones said something similar, but he also came to learn that the power of what he was saying influenced other people. So while you may be a little more rational and measured, it seems as though the following you have built doesn't understand when you're being satirical or you're making a joke.
He's not
so you
being
have concerns that
satirical.
maybe they're going to
He's
ruin
not
your
being
message.
satirical at all.
Really, only because, I really have no control over what happens after I tell the message. And, once again, we can get caught up in, like.
But isn't it your movement?
They're
Yeah,
all
it is,
this
of
bad.
course.
So shouldn't you have
All
some
of them
sort
are
of
this
control
bad.
as someone in favor of authoritarianism?
Well, I mean, I control like an organization, and I control the messaging that comes from me and from my show. But as far as like what my followers take from that, I can't control how people respond to it or how they interpret it. And I don't necessarily think that's the responsibility of an author or of a speaker or something, of a truth teller. That'd be one thing if I was
We
like
got
a
a super chat from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa. Christians are supposed to be gentle and respectful. I'm sorry about all the trolls. Listen, guys. So we seem to have cleared up the nonsense that just brigaded my channel. It's okay. I've had this happen before. I have been through this before. These are children. It is what it is. It's an opportunity to expand the block list. It's an opportunity for next time that Ethan Ralph decides to get blue balls about the fact that I will not go on that show ever. It's an opportunity to just continue to expanding our block list. And so eventually they'll try to do this shit and we just won't hear any of them. And it's also good because it does demonstrate who these people really are. It demonstrates exactly what they're talking about on the show right now. When you think about who their followers are and how their followers behave, it demonstrates exactly what we're saying.
Politician or something, or if I was leading a club, if like my club member, if I was leading like, hi, this is the Groyper Club, members only, and some guy was out there saying, hey, you know what? And he was a representative of something that I led, that would be one thing. But, me going and doing my show, I don't even know who's watching it. It's, it's a mass audience
he
online, and
abdicates
they can
all
take that and do what they
responsibility.
will. And the most
Nick
that I can say is
abdicates
clarify my
responsibility
views
for these
where
people at all. He
where
knows
there's
what's going
ambiguity
on.
or where people are taking it out of context. But I think it gets away from the duty and the obligation in this time
peace
of
and
people
quiet.
to tell
Isn't
the
this
truth.
nice?
The onus is always on the truth teller. We live in a corrupt society of lies and deception. And whenever anybody tells the truth, it's like, well, but that's offensive. Well, but don't you think that's not, really strategic? Or don't you think people are going to mistake that and take that out of context? It's like, I'm more worried about the fact that we're in this empire of lies, and we got to tell it straight up and to some degree have faith in the message and have faith in people that, it's going to go.
Do you
and
guys
do what it
have
needs to
faith
do.
in the people that we
interested
just
why you
saw
say,
show up in
that
my chat? Do you have faith in those
you
people?
and your following are
I don't have faith in those
oppressed.
people.
Well, I mean, just take a look at what's happened to me in particular over the past 5 years. I mean, I'm probably the most censored person in America or in the world. I'm so thoroughly banned. I talked about this on Slightly Offensive. You can't even search my name on TikTok. Like, I'm banned from TikTok, and you can't search Nick Fuentes. It says that's a hateful term. I made a music playlist on Spotify for the summer. Songs, Miley Cyrus, Radiohead, whatever. And they banned the music playlist because I made it. I'm banned from Twitter, Facebook, every social media. I'm debanked. They closed one of my business checking accounts last week. Didn't even tell me. They just sent the account balance and a check in the mail. I logged into the app. Your account doesn't exist here anymore. I'm on a no-fly list. And then you add to that.
They took your money. The feds took your money, too.
Yeah, and then the Fed seized $500,000 from me earlier this year. So, it goes on and on. And it's also in the conservative movement. Like, I'm also on the blacklist for CPAC. My name is on a list at CPAC where I can't enter.
It's whatever. They're gay.
Yeah, they suck.
They suck.
I'm not really missing
just gonna put it out
anything.
there.
Going party with Lady MAGA
The people
and
who run
Caitlyn Jenner.
CPAC, I don't know.
It's
Blaze
Eric's
might get-
wet dream. What? A weekend with Lady MAGA?
No.
Oh, more money for nonsense. More money for nonsense. Isn't that nice? Thanks for the money.
Not interested.
Your face is just so.
He's like, I was gonna say, like, it actually makes me laugh because this is actually the true statement. Is that's why when you actually listen to Nick, not just out of context, it's like you listen to someone like Eric, and it almost sounds like the same thing. I mean, obviously, with different, like you said, different variations of the right wing, so slightly different. But it's like it is true though. This is why sometimes it's like sucks to be a white commentator. The shit you can get away with when you're black, like it's like literally. Sav was just like on the show, like I get in trouble.
Thanks for the money.
Get a strike, anything like I'll say anything. And Sav was just like on the show. She's like, you know what? I am a bigot.
So the short story to this is, a long time ago, a guy I dated in college pleaded guilty to a crime he didn't commit, spent 8.5 years in prison for it. He pleaded guilty because his lawyers convinced him he would go to jail for the rest of his life if he didn't. And I stuck by him all throughout prison. And everyone in our lives knew that he pleaded guilty to a crime he didn't commit in order to not go to prison for the rest of his life because he was overcharged by the government for something. And they were railroading him and backing him into a corner. And then 10 years after he got out of prison and was finally able to move on with his life, Mike Harlow from the Walkaway Movement decided to go through all of my social media history for 15 years so that he could smear an innocent person on the internet so that he could get at me. And they have been dragging my friend's name through the mud for months ever since. So if anyone's interested in what you're seeing, that's what it was. I stood by my friend through 8.5 years in prison. Everyone in his life knew what happened. Everyone in my life knew what happened. I'm not going to throw him under the bus now. And he has suffered enough. And these asshole influencers keep doing this, dragging an innocent person through the mud. A private person, someone who's not public, someone who went on with his life after suffering for a really long time for something that he didn't do, gets dragged through the mud all the time because conservative influencers are absolute and total assholes and should never be trusted with power ever. This is why the left is no different than the woke right. And they demonstrate it time after time after time after time.
I am a homophobe. I don't, there's like a couple gays I like, and overall, I'm just done with these people. And I was like, literally would get a strike if I was like to make that claim. But Sav's like, someone's watching, like, little brown woman. It's okay. You're oppressed. You can say what you want. And that's like the funniest shit. Is like, even when you go on, like we were talking about that, like the black people on Twitter talking about genociding the white population, and then it was like that just stayed online. It was like, all right, whatever, that's completely cool. Like, even I have a video playing that on YouTube, and they're like, that's cool, keep that one up, it's on this show. And then if you mirrored that, like if you're a white guy and you just like say half the shit that Brandon says, like Brandon just says stuff, I'm like, all right, we can get in trouble for this.
Apparently
just on
not.
that. No, but it is.
Oh, do not
No, but it
not
is-
tempt fate.
But no.
Shush.
But what I was gonna say is like this is what's interesting is that like with Nick, it's that
No, but
I-
I still want to know
no,
why the audience is oppressed.
that's what I'm
Why are
saying
they
though. Wait,
oppressed?
that's what I'm saying about the oppressed thing is that the attacks, like we were talking about this, that you are a target, and once they choose that you're a target, then they'll just do everything to make an example of you. And that's what I think the oppression was, is that it's like, look, Nick made some Jew jokes, he has some opinions on Israel, and he said the N-word on his show. So we're going to make sure that everyone sees that if you step out of line, we're going to use this guy as an example, and we're going to say the Groypers are the equivalent of Nazis.
The
And
Groypers
now it's
are
like,
the
even if you're
equivalent of
black or you're a
Nazis.
Jew or you're a part of it, doesn't matter. If you're a woman, it does not matter, because we're going to make this group the example. And so we'll take away every part of your humanity to interact in life. And they use these people as examples. So it doesn't matter if Eric said the same thing that you said, you're going to get in trouble for it, not him. For whatever, it doesn't even matter if you're white or male, whatever you can say, simply because now Nick Fuentes is the target and the example and the
Thank you,
scapegoat
James.
on the
I
right wing,
appreciate
even
that.
like where his name's like a curse word, where people, people told us we're retarded for having him on the show, as if it's like bringing someone on. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna like bust into flames or something like that. Who gives a shit?
Well, at the end of the day, I feel like if there's ideas, right, that Elijah has that I disagree with. There are ideas that actually I don't really disagree with a ton of your ideas. You're pretty good, Eric.
I like you guys.
Eric, I like when you're here. I sit here just nodding. But no, there's things that, you know, as people even on the right wing, we all disagree amongst ourselves. And it's funny because yes, do I think some of your ideas are not my favorite? For sure. And I would hope that they would never be enacted because I think that they would be disastrous in practice, but that's okay because they're not in practice as yet. But the thing is that I've never understood this entire deplatforming and depersoning thing, because at the end of the day, the reason why I'm prepared to ask you questions and legitimately just hear you out, because like I said, I had no basis of who you were until just now, is because if you've got a shit idea, then we can shoot it down with a better one. And
Yeah.
vice versa. If I have a shit idea, you can shoot it down with a better one. Fine, fair enough. But I am interested. Why are you, I get when you say oppressed and the fact that you have been depersoned,
Mhm.
I think is disgusting what's happened to you. And I think it's disgusting what they've done to Laura Loomer. I think it's disgusting what they've done to Milo Yiannopoulos. Because again, if you have ideas, shoot them down with better
Owen
ideas.
Benjamin.
There's tons of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of people. The fact that like even when Chase Bank started just closing people's accounts, they did that to Laura Loomer. It's revolting to
They
me.
got. I remember that started a lot of that. Like
I'm
James
banned
Alsop, they got too.
from
Yeah.
Uber, and that is very annoying.
Yeah.
That is
sucks.
very annoying being banned from frickin' Uber. I'm just like, that's the only place I'm
Where,
banned from.
what are you all banned from?
But
Like,
I
how many
want to
things are you
know
banned
why
from?
your audience is
Literally
oppressed.
everything.
I
Why
wanna
my
know,
audience?
Why
Well,
are they oppressed?
Because first of all, we have attitude. We've got grit. We're real sort of like Groypers
they have
with attitude.
attitude,
I think
all right.
that's kind of what people like about us. Firstly, I'll just say, some people say, oh, well, the Groypers are too antagonistic. I think that's the reason why people like them, because we are energetic. We're not like these baby conservatives that are, they show up to these college Republican meetings with like
They
their
have
pocket
attitude,
protector.
all
And they're like,
right.
I really like Josh Hawley and I like common good originalism. And Groypers are like, it's America first, bitch. And like, we like that. But the reason why they're oppressed is these
you guys
are young
find that
guys.
attitude
These are
compelling?
young, virile, like it's in many cases, teenagers, 20 something. A lot of people think they're
good.
mostly
He's
white.
so
There's a lot
proud.
of
He's teaching
Hispanics. There's a lot of
teenagers to
black
be
guys.
like this.
They're mostly guys. And, their whole lives, they have been oppressed. They've been oppressed by, their parents, their libtard parents, if their parents are divorced or overbearing
that's
moms,
nice.
oppressed by the education system, oppressed by the
Hey,
media.
who-
Everything's been taken from them. Their movies, their video games.
Who wants to bet that Nick Fuentes had an overbearing mother? Nick Fuentes is working through all his mommy issues live on the internet. Bree says, I'm about to email you because I tried to tag Rachel Morley and I also tried to send the message through Super Chat, but couldn't. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have my email, Bree, so you're welcome to email me. I will say that, like, I don't think tagging works if you're on your phone or something like that, but that must, I'm not sure what's going on there. Sorry. Oh, they're over harassing Tim Pool. Oh, that's nice of them. Well, that's fine. Better for us. Much quieter. I'd like to wrap this up and then go get some dinner. I was going to wrap this up like half hour ago, but that's just what we were doing today, dealing with this shit. Nick is not far from people that hated Italians. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Absolutely.
The women have been alienated and turned against them. Everything's been taken away. And you know, the big problem, I think, where the antagonism arises from is then you've got this conservative establishment,
Sorry, guys,
which is
not
not, I
my.
wouldn't say it's the people in this room.
I am sorry for people who felt the show was derailed. Of course, this like wasn't something that I had any control over. But where I am glad is that, and it's too bad the people on the replay aren't going to see this because we just basically cleaned out the chat from all of them. So the people on the replay, they're watching this, are really not going to understand what the fuck is going on, except they're going to see it on the screen. But you know, what I am glad about is that people who have never experienced something like that before, you now see who these people really are. Because Nick Fuentes does put on a good show, doesn't he? He puts on a good show. He makes it seem like he's just, I don't even know why I'm so controversial. And then you see how his fans and supporters act, and it gives you a new perspective. That's what they would do if they were in charge. That's who they are. And while I'm sad that it kind of derailed what we were doing today, I'm glad that you guys got to see it for what it is. And they're still coming. Yes, they proved everything I said in the stream. They did, Grandma Nay, didn't they? Guys, mount that like button for me if you would be so kind. We've got about 15 minutes left of this. Let's wrap up.
I don't see a lot of establishment in this room, but you know, when you see a lot of these pundits or people on Fox News, excluding, of course, Tucker and other places, they sort of talk down to these people and tell them that the real solution is something like, you know, learn to code, get a job. You know, men just aren't doing their part. Like, for example, when it comes to the women conversation, it always comes back to, well, you know, men just aren't good enough. You need to put down the video games and stop doing this and and it turns into this sort of nagging thing. And so the reason why my followers particularly are hostile to the conservative establishment, it's sort of like, you know, we're in dire straits, young men, and the people that supposedly represent our side don't represent us and don't appreciate us and are not really talking about our real problems. And that's where a lot of the antipathy comes from.
Good
and
night, Red Room
I'm
Diecast.
sort of like
Thanks
an
for hanging
avatar
out.
of them. You know, I'm like them. I'm of them. I'm just another one of these Zoomers, just more talented and a genius. And so they see me as like, as an avatar who has been, you know, I've thrown myself into the machine and people see what's been done to me. And it's sort of like they feel it, you know, they see it, they relate to it and they feel it. And so it's sort of like me. It's like I'm Joker, you know, in like that movie.
But again, I guess my thing to
You mean
sort
the
of
Joker?
like
Yeah, Joker.
sort of like I was saying before, though, I mean, take someone like me, for example, right? The way that I got into politics was through men's rights. And that's something that I really care about because I
Yeah.
love men and I care about
He's enabling
men
his
being treated
audience.
fairly, particularly
Very true,
in,
Scott.
the court system and particularly when it comes to fatherhood and what have you. And I really care about that. And these are things where back in Australia, I've had marches, I've contributed a lot of money to the issue. Like I've done things that I think might help push the envelope. And I talk about this a lot on my channel. With some of your views, again, you might alienate a lot of people who would otherwise be ready to support you and your followers. And if you are oppressed like you think you are, then you are alienating, particularly women. There's so many women you don't realize who really, really wants the best for men. And I simply don't understand this. Oh, you know, let's sort of push women to maybe the corner in some capacity. When, like, again, otherwise people like me and other anti-feminist women are like, yep, cool, like let's fight for men's rights because we care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not problematic?
This is problematic. I mean, see, this is this is why I have to be the way that I am, because I break the mold. If you want to watch a show that what you're asking for is
Wait, are they
pandering. If you
honestly
want a show-
harassing
I'm
Tim?
not.
You
I'm,
kind of
I'm,
are.
I'm
Are they
asking-
really?
I'm asking you, is it not? No, because
Huh.
framing is everything, right?
I'm gonna look.
You can promote an idea that might be inaccessible to people when you say, yeah, we should just cut all the tails off the cats.
Mhm.
And people go, no, that's animal abuse. That's a horrible idea. But if you come at it, you go, look, it actually helps with this, that, and the other, and you actually provide reasoning for many of your viewpoints, people go, okay, that's actually not so psychotic. Yes, I can get on board with that. But if you're like, yeah, women, this, or I actually, you know, because again, I don't have any sound bites from you saying things about women, so I'm not going to put words in your mouth. But if you do have some sort of bizarre opinion towards women that might not be based in reality, but rather from, I don't know, maybe a negative
Oh,
experience.
shit,
maybe
they are
trauma,
really
I don't know what your
harassing Tim.
background's like. And I'm saying, like, maybe there's some issues here that
Well,
need to be
I
unpacked.
have a good example
especially
of this.
for, you know, some of your audience. I'm assuming that they've not had particularly nice experiences in life so far. But rather than you know, going into the world being angry and trying to bash people because they don't 100% align with you, I don't understand how that's pushing the envelope or helping anybody.
But that's not it. We're not bashing people
Dude,
because
do you
they don't
read
align.
the stuff that your people say? And
But
they
that's-
make it personal too. They're not saying you've got a shit idea. They attack you as a human being.
See, this is what I'm talking about. It's just sort of like this, like, don't you think that's problematic? Like, don't you think like, women like me are like, it's like
They're just doing to
you know,
him what they
listen,
did
we
to
don't have
us
time
on a
for
much
political
larger
correctness. We
scale.
don't have
It's not
time
about
to
being politically correct. It's
pander
about
Tim's
to
chat
the
is totally
feelings
taking
of
over.
women.
50% of the
We're not
population.
I just want to say,
demonizing
like, I'm watching Tim Pool's chat right now basically go insane with these people. Like, they've taken over his chat. Like, you can't even see anything else other than these people. Do you guys understand now why I have rules in the chat? This is exactly why I have chat rules, so we don't have to put up with this shit right here. You're welcome. All right, let's finish up.
Listen,
Give
we're
it to
more
him,
Do you read
Sydney.
your own comments?
Give it to him,
Do you read your own
Sydney.
comments?
I read my comments.
So you're aware of how these people feel about women,
Yes.
and women's just the example. I'm sure that they have
Wait,
shitty
can I?
opinions
Well,
towards
actually,
a myriad of
want
other
to. I
people.
want to cut in here and say this. This is actually important. This is what actually what my wife noticed. She's a good woman. She stays at home. She doesn't want to work. I think she's a very she's what I wanted in a wife, right? I think that's kind of actually what you said, you're looking for a woman. Like I always joke.
No,
like,
just wants
everything.
to make a bunch of little children and
Yeah,
then
yeah, but it's
He
like
wants to
but
do
it's
the
like,
Epstein
run
thing.
it and
No,
send
he wants
them
to
off.
do the Jeffrey Epstein. He just wants to clone
no,
him.
but like I don't really think
Yeah.
that men and women were like really made to be
maybe in a
friends.
couple of years, Nick, you'll be able to just drop your sperm into a thing and then a baby will be.
Honestly,
no
born.
women required.
You can do that already.
Much
but,
better, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, but no, but
Test
my
tubes.
point,
Better
my
option.
point was what I thought was interesting, especially with the young dudes, is I went to a convention for the American Populist Union in Florida, and what was interesting.
God,
was
why
this
would
was a
you do
bunch of
that,
young
Elijah?
dudes. One thing that my wife noticed was that because she had just stopped by to bring me something that I forgot in a piece of sound equipment or something like that, is that she was saying that while she stood there was that the young boys seem to be they seem to be anti-women or bitter at women rather than like, hey, I'm gonna actually, like you said, like I'm gonna live a society where I'm gonna make money and I don't believe in egalitarianism. I don't think women and men are traditionally friends in the way that society says they are, and I don't think that husbands and wives have to be friends in the way that you think they are, and that there's a place for women. And even traditionally when couples hung out, the men hung out together outside and barbecued and did whatever they went to the gentlemen's clubs, not the current strip clubs, but like actual male spaces, and women had their own female spaces, and there was this together but separate ideology. And she was saying that she just goes, I'm just nervous, right, as a woman, that like rather than men trying to become strong men that would attract a traditional woman who wants to stay in her place, that it becomes a movement, like she was saying, that is just about being it comes across anti-woman, not pro-traditional woman.
Right.
And that's all I think she's trying to say. I thought it was a fair observation from my wife of like, like not that they need to create the space or a car is for driving. They don't need to have women in here. They don't need to invite women. They can ban women. Who cares? But she was just saying that like a lot of these young guys she spoke to were just like, haha, shut up, bitch, you're a woman.
Yeah.
Rather,
Yeah.
which is fair if you're like 21, but when you're like when you start to get older and you want to reproduce,
When you're
and women
mature,
have
you're
a-
like, quiet, bitch.
You think-
Excuse me.
well,
bitch.
but I'm saying that you actually take the authority and not just like say you have it. It's like you live it out in your real world with your wife, and you actually provide her the home and you give her the place and the position to be in her place type of thing. It's like, well, women should be in their place. Well, your job is to provide that place. Like we're supposed to marry them and give them the home so that you wanted them to stay home. Well, who's giving them the home? It's a man who knows what the fuck he's doing. So like, it's like, I see that instead it's just like, well, women need to be somewhere. Well, what? Where are the women going to share? Your bedroom in your mom's house? Like where are the women going to, you want them in the
Really?
kitchen? Which
Did we
kitchen?
just not watch long enough?
Who's giving them the kitchen? And like, that's what I worry about
Wow.
too with some of these like younger movements, is it's very based and cool, but not always based in reality.
Yep.
No, I think it is based in reality because, again, it's all contextual, which is to say that, look at the society that we live in, which is like this insane, shrill, shrieking, feminist society. And it's within the context of this where my show is a place where it's like men talking about women, how we really feel, not pandering to them like they're a voting block, not pandering to them like we necessarily need their approval or need to win them over or something. My show's a show for men. Politics, in my opinion, is really it's a domain of men. And I'm speaking to men politically on the nature and the role of women. And the sort of attitude towards
But
women
Nick,
is,
you don't know
let's see here. Can I finish
Of
here? I mean,
course,
I've
yes.
heard this now.
Yes.
the point
Keep
is
quiet,
really to
Sydney.
sort of
Stay in
tell
the corner
men
where you
about
belong.
the place of women. And you're right, Elijah, men need to put women in their place, but first we've got to destroy this pedestal that women are put on by honestly both like feminists as well as simps, because there's sort of two sides to it. On the one hand, you have these like male feminists that say like, oh, women are the same as men, and like, hey, you go, girl. If anything, I'll be the one in the kitchen. And then you've got these simps that are like, milady, she's more pure than me, she could do no wrong. And it's like, well, let's think about how ancient people thought about women. Let's think about how people hundreds of years thought about women. They didn't idealize them. If anything, in the 19th century, they thought that women were more promiscuous and women were more sort of primal and animalistic and less rational and these kinds of things.
Emily.
And they didn't see
this
women
is why
as like
so many of them
divine,
can't get
you know,
women,
the best thing in the world.
and why they're
they saw them
incels,
as like
and they never get
they
laid.
reproduce, and then
This
they're, you know,
attitude
that's kind
specifically.
of their play in society. And so my show is with the mind towards basically destroying this feminist frame. And that goes for the whole thing. You know, people come to me and they say, you know, you're alienating people. It's provocative. It's whatever. And that's really sort of intentional in the sense that it's everybody has this liberal, feminist, sort of anti-white frame. And, you know, yeah, my show is offensive. It's more than slightly offensive. It's very offensive.
That's why you're not on Blaze TV.
That's right. That's right. It's why I'm on Cozy TV,
Yeah.
not YouTube or D Live. It's with a mind towards
Oh
destroying
God,
the
Stephen,
frame.
does he
And,
ever?
you know, I don't know that, like, if I
Does
were
he
the
ever need a
president,
good
I wouldn't be
dominatrix?
saying "shut
Oh
up,
my
bitch," you know,
God.
from the Oval Office. But the point of my show is to really change the whole conversation and change attitudes. And so I don't even have it in mind of like, gee, you know, what are women going to think of this? Like that. If I were to do that before my show, it wouldn't be the same show. It would be cringe.
But neither of us, Elijah and I do this every day, right? And neither of us, when we talk, think, is this going to offend women? I mean, neither of us think about, is this going to offend men, or is this going to offend black people, or is this going to offend? No, we just
We definitely
say
have to think about
things.
what we say more than he does, though. I will say, because like, you know, this too is like, because you stream on multiple platforms, right?
Yeah.
So you know that sometimes, like, you know, where you can take things further than people think you can take them,
Mhm.
but you also know, like, the 5D chess thing, kind of like, I mean, clearly, you know, if you become too hot of a target, like eventually, like, you get a strike and then you have to chill for a second because you're like, I got to chill for like a second
Cool
and get
down
the
timer.
heat off and then move in that position. But like Nick's in a position, which I noticed, is that he's got nothing else to lose except maybe being put in prison or being shot,
Well,
Yeah.
but
which
to,
is like
to,
slightly different.
to Sydney's point a
True.
little bit though, Nick, how is that attitude any different than what liberals are currently doing to the right? In that they're saying we don't care if we offend them, we don't care if we alienate them.
Yes, for
we wanna
many people it
institute what
is.
We want. We
For
want to
many
break
people
down
it
the
is.
nuclear family.
Yeah, well,
We wanna
liberals
put
are
in
winning.
our structure.
Liberals are
I have
winning.
never watched this
So
much
you're
of him in one
so you're
sitting.
saying they have a winning strategy. You think that's something we should emulate?
Yes.
Actually,
not in the sense of the
This is a great question, guys, because we're about to wrap up. This only has 4 minutes left. What I would like to do is just do some final thoughts. Now that we have been watching Nick Fuentes for 3 hours and 46 minutes. We got greeted by all of Nick Fuentes's little Groiper fans in the chat, so you guys got to all see what they are. What are your opinions? Chat in your opinions of Nick Fuentes and his Groiper fans, and I'll display them on the screen. Go ahead.
the content of what they say, but in the strategy, yes, liberals, I should say, like, Democrats are alienating voters with some of the stuff that they say. But yeah, liberals go out there and they say, here's your worldview. Like, we don't care if this offends. Like, how about Seth Rogen and Sarah Silverman? They're putting out this abominable Christmas
They're the
special.
SJWs
It's just
of the
most
right.
Jewish
Everyone
thing you've
hate-
ever seen.
19,000
Everyone hated it.
dislikes
Yes,
on,
no,
on
and
YouTube.
no, it's more than that. It was like over 70,000.
No.
Yeah, 72,000.
Okay.
And they turned off the comments. and
Jennifer,
turned,
you haven't
turned
missed
off the
anything.
likes because all those. Eric
Seth
was
Rogen's
writing
unfunny
YouTube
and fat.
but telling them how much
Fed
he was
Nick
upset
Fuentes is
about the
absolutely
dislike
fed.
attacks
I'm
that were
sorry, he
happening.
is.
Yeah,
Please,
that's a-
controlled
You saw that
opposition.
though, right? Like how they
Yeah,
came
yeah,
into the
yeah.
defense of that
His
movie.
fans are
because it was
children.
Like elves flashing Santa or some
Cringe
bullshit. and it was like
authoritarian.
disgusting. It was weird. It's also
Oh
weird
God,
too.
it would
Like,
be so
cartoon
fun to
porn is a
interview
weird
his
thing.
parents.
Yeah, it's repugnant. And
Mhm.
but the point being is, like, not that we should emulate that. That's sickness. But it goes to show the sort of brazenness. Liberals, I hate liberals. Oh, I hate liberals so much. And I'm not liberal. I'm not a classical liberal. I'm not a left. I'm right wing. I'm illiberal. I'm anti-liberal. And But the way that they approach this is they're like, we want the moon and the stars. We're coming for your kids. We're coming for everything. We are going to dictate how society goes. And conservatives are sort of like, well, what's your point of view? Well, let's reach a middle ground. Well, and like that attitude is just, it's lethal, because if we believe that like we're in the struggle of good and evil, then there can be no quarter for evil. There can be no quarter for these
Yeah, but
sort
what
of like,
about people like me who think that some of your views might, no, I wouldn't say evil. That's not terminology I would use.
Mhm.
But what about people like
I
me
would say
who are
evil.
on the right who think I don't like
but
it?
are you on the right? Really?
yes.
What would you say is right? What would you say is right wing?
Wow.
What would your
I
definition
think you need to be
be?
more specific.
What is right wing to you? Say you're right
Sydney
wing. What does that
Watson
mean to
is
you?
not on the
Well, I
right.
certainly don't align in really any capacity with the other side of things. So where does that leave me?
Well, I mean, to get back to the origin of the term right and left wing comes from the French Revolution and the National
I'm
Assembly.
aware.
You know, for people that don't know, the supporters of the monarchy on the right and the liberals are on the
That's a good
left. And
question.
it gets to this idea of preserving the old way of doing things. You know, what you're talking about, which is, yeah, go ahead.
No,
You
no,
got
sorry.
to jump in. Yeah.
No, it's all right. You
It's,
keep going.
you know, like not the left is not really sufficient. It's a very sort of specific thing about hierarchy, authority, about differentiation, which is something you were talking about earlier, differences between groups, between the races, between the genders, these kinds of things. And so I don't necessarily know, and I'm not saying this to be antagonistic, but I think it's presumptuous to say necessarily that we're 100% both right wing or on the same page or have the same definition of right wing. Because you say, well, I'm right wing and you're alienating me. And it's like, well, I would
I never
contest
said you were
that.
alienating me, but I would say I disagree with a number of your views, and I would hope that they would never come to fruition, is what I hope. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's to say that this is why I don't call myself a conservative, because by many definitions of the Puritan conservatives, if you don't 100% fit in their framework of what they deem a conservative to be, then you are not a conservative, and they will X you out. Fair enough if that's what they
You
want
can
to
become
do.
a California conservative. I heard that's really popular these days.
So I
It's a
mean,
callback.
it's I mean just I just I don't know how to answer that question, because I think you need to be more specific when you ask it. But if I mean, there's no better term. I mean, you want to come up with a better term for me, fine. But I would say that, believe it or not, there's probably a multitude of things that you and I align on, but obviously the big ones we don't, or several of the big ones we don't. But this is to say that, I mean, just because I'm not a conservative doesn't mean in some capacity that my views
Trying
are.
to say, are you quiet because you agree, or are you just listening?
No, dude, look, I'm not the
Yeah,
one to.
I'm
I don't
like-
get. Y'all know how I operate. I don't fucking get offended at what the fuck someone else is
And
saying.
that's
Definitely
it.
because I don't. There's no.
And we made it. We made it to the end, folks. Congratulations. Johnny just got here. Sorry, Johnny, we're wrapping up, but we're glad you made it to the end. Well, we got to block a lot of gripers today in the chat. We did do that. Guys, that is all we have for today. But remember, tomorrow is where it starts to get exciting. Tomorrow is where it starts to get fun, because tomorrow we are going to welcome Ben onto the channel. Ben worked for Tim Pool for a while. He was Tim Pool's network engineer in the Cast Castle. He's got some stuff to say about his experience, and we are going to listen to him, and you're going to get a chance to ask him questions, and we're going to welcome him and be very nice and considerate. And I just want to hear his story, and this is entirely his choice to do it. He could actually still back out if he wants to. By the way, like, I'm not pressuring him to do anything. He could absolutely still back out if he wants to. I hope he doesn't, because I'm looking forward to the conversation. But that is going to be at 5 p.m. tomorrow. We are going to be talking to Ben about his experience working for Tim Pool. Bree says, does he know that Catholics have been victimized by this type of ideology? I don't think he cares. He's not a religious person. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't understand it at all. He only uses it to appeal to a certain type of authoritarian mindset. So I just don't think he cares, Bree. I don't. By the way, I'm recording that episode of The West Wing tomorrow. I have it all penciled in and everything. Thursdays are my free day. So I'll be doing that tomorrow for you. Mama says, Carl, you're a goddamn treasure. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mama. Thank you guys for stopping by. And remember, got a nice little one on the way out the door. Remember, guys, this weekend we got a couple supporter things coming up. We're doing Unabomber Book Club in my locals community on Saturday at 3 p.m. I really can't wait for this discussion. He's gonna be really, really great. So So that's going to be awesome. And then on Sunday, we're doing movie night in my supporter Discord at 8 p.m. on Sunday. We're watching Fahrenheit 451, the correct Fahrenheit 451, not the remake that HBO did that we don't even want to talk about. We're watching the good one. That's going to be on Sunday. If you'd like to get access to those, head over to activelyunwoke.com/support, where you will find links to my Patreon. You can join anywhere from $5 a month all the way up to $250 a month if you want to, depending on what perks you want. If you don't want to join on Patreon, that's cool, man. You can join my locals community. $5 a month, $50 for the year. You can make a one-time gift. And all of those will get you invited to those community events. And I can't wait to see you guys in a couple of days. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow at 5 p.m. I'm really looking forward to the chat that we're going to have with Ben. I think it's going to be great. Guys, please mount that like button on the way out the door. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Take care, and I will see you guys soon. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.